Okie doke. Looks like we are now live.
Are we live?
We're live.
Yeah, we're in that pre-live though. Well, technically we're
Yeah,
live.
it leads up to us being live. Now we're actually talking and we're live. So,
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Hey guys.
I'm Zach.
I'm Cyrus.
And we are the founders of the FoundryCast, and we're here back here, I should say, for another live stream, live FoundryCast podcast. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. We'll hit some news. We're going to talk about some local gaming establishments.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about some fun we had last weekend at Free RPG Day. We're going to talk about what else? Gosh, I don't
Some
even
of
know.
the upcoming projects that we have.
Some other stuff that's coming up. Some conventions that are coming up very rapidly. So, stay tuned over the next hour and a half, 2 hours, however long we chit-chat and blather. For that and lots more. And as always, if you're joining us live, feel free to throw us questions in the chat. We'd be happy to answer those as we go. Always interested to hear from folks that are watching at home. So
as you can see, we're kicking back in the palatial FoundryCast studios.
Indeed,
taking it easy. Been a long week of work.
It has been.
We're gonna get into it a little by little as people start catching on. John, hello, buddy. Thanks for watching.
Howdy do. Howdy doody.
John has a lot of big things coming up, a lot of projects in the works that we'll be sharing our excitement with you guys about here soon. Can't wait to hear more about that. I believe that he's got a lot of big news coming up.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear about more news from his D&D podcast that they're talking about doing, which we mentioned in an episode of GM's Roundtable a while back. So, oops, let me... Oh, nope. Sorry.
The question is there...
Share that. There we go.
There is too much gaming. There is too much tabletop role-playing gaming.
You mean for a single person, as in you can do too much?
You can do too much, but that is a really high level that is hard to reach. So it's the thing I always say, that farts are always funny, and you disagree. And I'm saying up to the extreme.
Yeah,
farts are always funny.
Yeah,
beyond a certain point, of course.
Yes,
there is always the instance that negates the rule, but there isn't enough gaming, and we'll be talking about some of our not only love of gaming but infatuations and
the FoundryCast, the only podcast where we compare tabletop gaming to farts.
Well, if you're already watching us, then you probably already equate that, or
that's true.
That comparison doesn't offend you.
If you know us a little bit, you probably aren't too shocked. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Shall we jump into the news?
I think we can.
Talk a little bit
news
about
is
what's
always
going
good,
on. Where do you want to start?
Let's first talk about E3.
The big business convention that occurred.
Yeah, the Electronics Entertainment Expo.
Yes, which was a week and a half ago.
I felt really bad that I had to turn them down. You know, they offered to fly me out.
We had 4 booths set up, and we just said, you know what, we don't want to be hemmed in by something that small.
And Marvel isn't getting near enough press, so we said, give it to those guys, that tiny little comic book
Disney needs help.
company.
They really do. EA as well. EA is struggling. Sony
hurting.
Actually, Sony is kind of struggling now that I think about it. Never mind. But yeah, E3 happens. E3 2018. Always kind of a big time to look for if you're a gamer, because it's when most of the big companies drop new trailers, start talking about some new products. There wasn't a huge amount of future industry news. A lot of times we'll see stuff about a new console or something announced. I think Microsoft talked a little bit about their next console coming up, but nothing concrete. Mostly it was just announcements of lots and lots of games. So I don't know.
Well, Reggie Smith did confirm a little bit more about Nintendo's plan to compete in the online realm.
What is it called? Nintendo Online?
Nintendo Switch Online.
Switch Online, yeah.
And I've always been kind of surprised by what Nintendo chooses to do, what they don't do, and how they still remain relevant even if it seems to be the wrong choice.
It's incredible. They have stuck their foot in their mouth with online gaming for over a decade, and somehow they're still super relevant, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just a testament to the quality of the games that they make. they can get away with not having an online service.
One of the best games for competitive play is Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. And with them focusing on Smash Brothers Battle, I believe is
that was title. Probably the biggest announcement from Nintendo game-wise was the new Smash Brothers.
And having an online play, that's exciting. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so they've had it previously. I know going back to Brawl, it had online play. I tried it out. It was terrible because you just randomly got matched up with people. You didn't know who it was. There was very little control over it. Like a lot of the other online stuff with the Wii and the Wii U, is that it was just kind of random. So it's nice to see them, trying to cater towards the market that online, especially online fighting games, have, the competitive gaming market, because that's just continuing to grow. I spent an hour or two the other day reading more about the Overwatch League, because I really hadn't followed it much, but they just wrapped up their first season, Blizzard's Overwatch League, and it's like, to get in, to own a team, you have to pay $20 million. There's these huge amounts of money now in online gaming and in esports, and it's nice that Nintendo's finally starting to be able to support that.
Well, price-wise, do you know what the Xbox Live pricing is, or what is the general pricing for Xbox and PlayStation?
PlayStation is basically like $10 a month, but if you buy more time, you get discounts on that. I think Xbox is similar, if not the same.
Nintendo, I think at the moment they're citing like a $20-$25 a year.
Right, it's going to be super cheap.
That's not bad.
Which is nice. I think part of that is that they're probably not going to offer nearly as much. I don't know if they've announced even like voice chat will be part of it or not, and that's a huge amount of bandwidth. So if they don't do voice chat, then that'll save money.
And I think that's kind of in Nintendo's realm as well, because they even allow for pictures to be sent back and forth. Remember on the Wii U?
Yeah.
You could draw a picture and then have that go to somebody, but...
That's going all the way back to the DS, when you could connect to other DSs nearby and send them pictures of,
But limiting that...
naughty things.
Limiting the ability to speak is also going to keep bullying or inappropriate materials from coming across. So with the exception of your URL or your username being something inappropriate, I think it still... keeps things safe.
Toxicity of gaming in general is a topic we've talked about a lot, and it's something that I've enjoyed. I played a lot this year of Battlefield 1 on my PS4, and the thing I love about it is that there is no voice chat, and there's no chat. You're just playing with people, and they can't really communicate with you. Like you said, the only thing they can do is screen names, but that's your PS4 name, so you can't, you're never going to see any appropriate. The only other thing is your little gamer tag. You'll sometimes see somebody with a swastika or something that's obviously, and you just report them and whatever. But for the most part, it's limiting how much you can interact with people online eliminates those problems.
Do you know my favorite online chat? SOCOM Navy SEALs 2.
Yeah.
Do you remember? It's the headset.
Yeah.
And you can actually tell your guys in game what to do.
Yeah, the AI will follow your orders.
Attack to the east, and then when you hit play again, you'll hear your guys go, "All right, if you want us to." Like, are you sure you want us to do that? It's the best. It was really kind of surprising because it does get you feeling for a moment that you are playing with people online.
One of my favorite voice interactions in a game was with the Silent Hunter series, so submarine simulation. You're the captain of a German U-boat in World War II, and you have voice chat where you're like, you just say crash dive, and your boat goes and starts your crash dive. It's great. Cool. You hear the crew responding to the orders. It's great. So that's a lot of fun. But, anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's get back to E3. Any big announcements other than Nintendo Online stuff catch your eye?
I've been trying to catch up on this, and I guess because I'm not a millennial, I'm an Xennial, I think is what they're calling my kind now. It is the big foul up that PlayStation created about Fortnite.
I hadn't seen what.
Okay, let me try to encapsulate it. So Fortnite was released on the Switch earlier this week for online
play. Yeah, it was announced at E3, and they were rolling it out on the Switch. Yeah.
So you could log in with your, I believe, like whatever account you have, your Xbox account. But you cannot with your PlayStation because they're not wanting you to cross-platform. So essentially, if you try to log on to Nintendo from your PlayStation 4 account, it will lock out your PlayStation 4 account and not allow you to play that game at all.
I was seeing something similar about Minecraft. I think I was reading that Nintendo's doing their version of Minecraft. Is the same as the Xbox version, so you can cross-platform between those two. But
ultimately, it's they're getting to the phase where all Minecraft will be together
on the same servers.
Nintendo's still a little different, but it'll all eventually, except for, and then even Pocket Edition will one day merge, but it still seems to be its own thing. But it'll all be, there's Java Edition and there's Minecraft, no other words. And that's the smart thing to do because there's so few games that allow for that. And Fortnite is trying to stay relevant because they are huge. It doesn't
need to stay relevant. It is gaming at the moment.
Well, yeah, get out ahead of it while you can, and find new opportunities to develop your game through an even larger community that's all interactive. And then PlayStation messes it up. So I think they're working on it behind the scenes. It's just they're receiving incredible negative media on a pretty crappy choice.
Yeah, E3 was kind of the Fortnite show in general, announcing it on pretty much every platform, which isn't too surprising, just because of how big it is. I think it's interesting that it is as big as it is, though. Just it's a ripoff of a ripoff of a ripoff, inspired by. I guess I should say everything in gaming is a ripoff. It's I don't know. It's a style of gameplay that does not attract me in the least. Where it's battle royale, it drops 64 how many ever players into a thing, and it's the last person alive wins. And
I kind of enjoy some of those games, but they're on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
the little app games where you're a box that tries to make your plot a little bigger.
Yeah, like
all the IO games,
the light cycles in Tron.
It's exactly like that. Those are kind of fun because it takes a level of strategy. But games like that, it's about how often do you play, how well do you know your weapons, and so you do create these different tiers of skill that make it not so fun for the intermediate player.
Yeah, I'm used to something like Quake 3 back in the day when it was 6 or 8 players and you respawn. So you failed and died, but you get to come back in and learn on the fly, learn other people's habits and that kind of thing. With a game like Fortnite, where as soon as you're dead, you're out of the game and you got to join a new one. It's I don't know. It holds very little attraction to me. I prefer my online shooters team-based, personally.
Yeah, battle royale type games are the wave.
But yeah, even actually so I mentioned earlier I love Battlefield 1 on the PS4. Battlefield 5 is going to be the next game released later this year in World War II. They announced at E3 there's going to be a battle royale mode in that game, and it's like, okay, well that's totally against what the Battlefield series is about, which is huge team-based battles using vehicles. To make that battle royale makes no sense. So I'm hoping that mode does not become popular.
Most games that I get that have more than one game mode, I don't play but one game mode.
Yeah,
with the exception of Perfect Dark. I will play every game mode of that they have.
Yeah, there's a few other kind of big announcements from E3, just big games. The Last of Us sequel is announced. It's a series I've never cared about, so whatever. I know that's heresy. A couple other ones. There's a new Command and Conquer game coming, but it's for mobile only. It's like for iPad, and it's just weird. Let's see.
On the technology side of things, it's so difficult to get your online mobile platforms to connect with your online desktop or console platforms. I can appreciate why they would choose one over the other because the app market is still so big.
It is. It's cheaper to distribute. You make more money as a company with an app than you would in pressing a CD and trying to sell it in stores.
I've probably spent more money paying for an app that was free to not have ads than I have actually buying other apps. Games, So it's not a dumb idea.
Well, it's just kind of disappointing because you imagine E3 is like, here's our new console. It's like, oh, here's our new app. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we got Flappy Birds 3
coming at you,
but only on your iWatch. Okay.
But yeah, overall, it was an interesting show. The only other thing I will say about it is that I did notice there was an article that said that next year's E3 is going to be at the same place, but after that they don't have a location set. So I'm curious to see. E3's been kind of dwindling year after year, especially since its heyday in the late 90s, early 2000s when it was the show. We talked about this before on previous casts, but especially Nintendo, but really all of the developers are doing their own shows now. Blizzard has their own. Blizzard has BlizzCon. that they do now. So rather than announce at E3, they're announcing their stuff on their own time because then they get 100% market saturation. All eyes are on them versus at E3 you're having to compete with 40 other games. So we'll see if E3
part of that's
lasts,
the fun because
really.
when you have the BlizzCon, everyone's there for Blizzard content and media, and that is huge. But how many other games are you going to have that level of fan reaction?
That's true too.
It's also because Blizzard has like 4 games in their arsenal.
They do, and they're all great.
They're great games.
They're so good at what they do.
They're almost too good.
It's scary.
But sometimes you need that bigger umbrella to say, here are the coolest games and tech gadgets. If I go to the Apple Expo, I imagine it's going to be 8 hours, and that's all. Like a couple talks.
Yeah, it's not going to be a whole weekend kind of thing.
No, but I want to go for a bigger convention that I'm going to see lots of things, and especially that'll bring a lot more media attention to all the activities over the weekend. So I would be sad to see E3 go.
I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I think they're doing a better job every year of going more online and making it easier because, you know, it's really kind of closed out fans for a long time. Where it's really hard to go as a fan and attend in that way. You really have to be a dev or in the press to go. So they're getting better with letting us kind of do it electronically from a distance, which maybe that'll be the better way to go for them anyway.
Jeremy, Whitney, Gilly, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. John, if you're still watching, what's up? How you doing?
As always, like we said at the start of the podcast, if anybody has any questions they'd like us to touch on in the geek milieu, whatever, feel free to fire them off at us. We're just covering a little bit of news at the moment here at the start of the podcast.
And honestly, friends, that's why we do this live, is because of the interaction.
Yeah, we want folks to interact with us.
Yeah, and we're not going to be choosing random meats to eat tonight, but that doesn't mean you can't throw in comments, questions, suggestions. We love to hear it. I do have random meat at home. I could go get it.
No, it's okay. We don't need to do the meat tonight, I guess.
Oh, it's meat-free night.
Another evening, perhaps. We need to do a panel at the convention that's just us eating random meat.
Yeah. That might actually be pretty popular. Come watch these two
weirdos eat meat.
Random various
I don't know,
animal byproducts.
Might attract the wrong crowd.
But you know what? They're very diehard fans. They might be the wrong crowd, but they will subscribe. They will comment.
Buy our T-shirts.
They will send things to our P.O. box. They're a diehard crowd.
They'll look in your window at night.
Will.
They'll camp in your yard.
They will.
All right.
I have to make a side note.
Yeah.
I apologize. I said it to you before. You said that you've overcome it since. But when I re-uploaded the Oddities podcast, I forgot that while it's all audio, there is one segment of video from that movie.
Oh, no.
Alien.
Yes.
And then I can just imagine that you decided to, hey, I want to listen to that podcast again. And then you hear a moment and you look over at the screen and that scene plays out that you weren't expecting. Because in the dark, it is still creepy.
It's weird. I've gone back and seen, so we're talking about the film Communion, based on the Whitley Strieber book, however you pronounce it, where Strieber is played by
Christopher
Walken in a horrible performance. And he's kidnapped by aliens, and the alien effects are so bad. But watching it as a kid, it was terrifying somehow. And even today, I'll go back and watch it, I could recognize how terrible it is. And it's still kind of scary.
Well, it's scary in the fact that it looks like maybe cadavers were used in some places for alien parts, or
the aliens,
the way they're moving unnatural. It's like a creepypasta.
They're
on
so
its own.
Cheesy and puppety to where they become
like
uncanny valley weird.
Yeah, like a marionette.
Exactly.
That line is kind of blurred back beyond super realistic into unnaturally moving.
And we'll give the director credit and say that that's what he was going for with those effects, but I doubt it.
No.
I did want to say, if you want to know any more thoughts, or at least my thoughts about E3, I did do a 2-part article on our website, thefoundrycast.com. Mm-hmm. Go there and check that out. Give me some feedback. I'm always interested to hear back any other gamers that want to chime in on E3. But moving on, what else do we have in the news?
I want to talk a little bit about Stephen King, because
oh yeah, right, yes.
I didn't know I was a Stephen King fan until really after in college. Because I learned about the Dark Tower series.
Yep.
Wow, words be gone. My, not RA, my RD suggested The Gunslinger, and he actually went and bought books for all of us because he was an avid reader.
Gotcha.
At the end of the year, he said, "This book makes me think of you," and he gave me The Gunslinger, and I read it front to back, and then I reread it because it was so good and it's so cool. Creepy where it needs to be creepy. Heroes are heroes when they need to be. And then I went off in the series, and I started wanting more from Stephen King. I realized that movie I saw as a kid was Stephen King. That TV show was Stephen King. That movie was produced by Stephen King. So there's just so much in his repertoire.
Oh, yeah. He's hyper prolific. Scarily prolific.
If you will. Well, I don't even want to know what that is. But they've updated some of the upcoming releases that they're working on.
Okay.
New movies, TV shows. I wanted to rattle off a few. Part of it is the Dark Tower movie, which in my opinion should not have been made the way it was. The original concept was to make a very true adaptation where it would be movies interspersed with TV shows. Okay. As if they would do a movie, a full season of a show, a movie. And in that way they can tell the story. They can slow down the slow, boring stuff and speed up and make more epic, because there are gaps in the books that are that way. We're traveling, we're talking, we're reminiscing, but then here are the gunslingers that are based off of the Knights of the Round Table and their gunslinging antics. Like, that's a movie, that's not a TV show. Right. But just walking down the road, talking about things, you're going to break that into a miniseries. The movie didn't do so well at the box office, but there are still so many projects of his that were already in the works. They're retooling them. But the re-release of It, was a monster, no pun intended, at the box office.
Yeah, they're still
a great movie? Not necessarily.
They're still wanting to do the sequel to that, right? Yeah.
Now, I saw the miniseries. It's like a 2 or 4 part miniseries.
The original.
That came out in the 1990s. Yeah. And it was both parts of the story together. And the new movie was just the first part of the kids' terror they went through. The second part is the adults having to come back to the town with the horrors that they had faced and fighting the same malice once again. I thought, please tell me it's not a sequel where now it's the scary clown alien is now on a spaceship in the future. Yeah. Was that Jason X?
Jason in Space?
Jason in Space?
Quality.
Yeah.
Quality film.
In Space. Yeah, not the same kind of thing.
I wish it was It in Space. I'd watch that.
So, what movies they got coming out? So, of course, It 2. There's something called Castle Rock, which is a death row attorney who left his father. His father was killed and hadn't. Where's the one we know? Okay, here's one. Dr. Sleep. This is a sequel to The Shining. After the kid grows up and starts coming to understand his powers and what they mean.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I assume that's based on a book. I didn't even know he wrote a sequel to The Shining.
I think he penned part of it. Although it was a book. It came out in 2013. And at the moment, Ewan McGregor is the projected lead role. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
But the kid's not British.
Ewan McGregor can do a pretty straight American accent.
I don't know. I feel like his American accent's terrible. I don't remember.
There's a couple more. What's your favorite Stephen King story? And I'll see if they've got.
I was going to say, here's the thing about me. I've never read a single Stephen King book.
Really?
Ever.
Have you seen any of the other miniseries?
I've seen part of It, the original. I've seen... Gosh.
Well, the 823-page mammoth series, or book, The Stand.
Yeah, I know a little bit about The Stand, but very little. I've seen part of the original version of that TV.
They had the original TV miniseries that came out in, I believe, the mid-90s.
Yeah, something like that.
They redid that series in the late 2000s, I think.
Oh, really?
Maybe early 2010s.
All right.
They're looking at doing it again as another miniseries.
Okay.
Like an 8-part, maybe 10-part miniseries.
It's funny.
The problem is the pacing on that. There's a lot of time where nothing happens. It's creepy and gory at times, a lot like The Walking Dead. You just don't have a lot of ambling zombies to get the action back up. So I'd be interested to see what they do with it, because some of the stakes are really high and the religious overtones, you have to face those head on when it comes to a series like this.
Yeah.
What are some others? The Talisman, which is another very popular story of his.
Actually, no, I take that back. My favorite Stephen King story, though I've not read the book, is Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank. I hope to goodness they never re-release that.
Oh God, that's something that Hollywood would do, is take a near perfect movie and redo it.
Well, they are looking at. I know you talked about before, Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah, I heard they were remaking that too.
And also Creepshow.
Oh, okay.
Which is a good anthology series.
Yeah.
I do like an anthology horror series.
Okay.
I mean, there are so many things that are in the works and pre-production, as in they're getting the rights. But Stephen King,
well, again, he's got like 50 or 60 books. It's obscene how much he writes.
Books and then anthologies and short stories.
And short stories and all the so many
Mist.
properties.
The Mist became a good miniseries.
I saw parts of that movie and it seemed actually pretty good.
The end is a very polarizing.
Yeah, the end. I've seen the clip of the end, and it's kind of.
But that is sometimes the world.
No,
Gil, hey, thank you for hearting the FoundryCast.
I asked one of our viewers there to give us a quick comment just to make sure our comments are working, because I wasn't sure if they were or not.
Yeah, they paused.
Sometimes when I've streamed in the past by myself, I've had issues seeing comments. I just want to make sure.
Well, and if anyone else is watching, if their audio levels sound good, give us a thumbs up.
Oh,
John,
yeah, please do.
Whitney,
let us know how
Jeremy, if one of you will give us a thumbs up.
Let me just confirm that. Yeah, we should be lovely on our audio, but if anybody has any feedback on that, please holler at us. Oh, Cyrus has joined. How does that work?
Because I'm magical.
Watching.
Magic.
All right. Well, do you want to move on to our last little bit of news?
Let's do it.
I think we had a few components here. So we're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars. It's a little-known series. Doesn't get much press.
Yeah, it's very kind of a guerrilla, behind-the-scenes.
Yeah, small production, no-name producer. Company I've never heard of. Disney made it. I don't know.
They need some advertising.
I hope they do okay. I'm not sure if they will.
They used to do like these He-Man big figures.
Yeah.
What if they took these Star Wars figures and made them smaller?
Oh.
So they'd be fun to play with.
Say about yay tall?
Yeah, right around 3 3/4 inches.
Maybe occasionally they'd come with maybe an accessory or two.
Yeah, and you make them smaller so they can have accessories.
Yeah, that's an idea.
That'd be a good way to get the word out about them.
That's a good idea. You should work for this tiny company. They probably wouldn't pay you anything.
Nah,
they probably
can't.
It's all private.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to talk about Star Wars. We're going to touch on, or at least I'm going to try and touch on a couple of just rumors I've been hearing. I'm not going to say they're spoilers because they're rumors. We don't know if they're actually spoilers or not, but if you're super afraid of any sort of spoiler, you can tune out for the next 5 or 10 minutes. But I don't think we're going to actually spoil anything. But a few little bits of news. The biggest kind of story in Star Wars right now is Solo, the film, which you saw, right?
I saw the film.
You liked it?
I liked it.
I've heard a lot of good things.
I didn't walk away going, I love it, but for and I'm almost tired of the term now, popcorn movie, but it gave me the beats I needed with the action and the likability of the main cast.
How can you expect a Han Solo movie to be anything other than pop? It's not a deep character. It's not,
But they were able to add a little bit of depth, or at least explain the things that we kind of already thought we knew.
I think that's lovely. I'm glad that it seems like I said, most of what I've heard from fans has been fairly positive. However, the film has absolutely tanked. If you're saying making $400 million is tanking, which in this case it is, the budget of that film was extremely high because they reshot pretty much the whole thing. There was a lot of issues before production. And in general, budgets of these movies are in the hundreds of millions of dollars range, so they really have to make $600-700 million at least, if not more, to break even or to try and make a profit for this tiny company, Disney, that may not make it. So Solo, like I said, I think it's done like 300 or 400 million thus far, and it's basically near the end of its run. It's made basically nothing overseas. Had a really rough run here in the United States. So the rumor coming out right now is that Disney is actually thinking about putting all of the other spin-off movies, these side films, on hold. Because we know there's an Obi-Wan Kenobi and a Boba Fett movie coming in the next couple of years. The rumor is they're going to put them on hold for a little while and maybe retool some things because they're concerned about
that was a very big concern that was making the rounds in the media going through middle of this week. But more reports have come through that Disney executives and some others are saying that it is inaccurate and speculative at best.
Okay.
Which isn't saying...
That means it's true.
Which isn't saying that, no, it's not happening. But it is a refute. But at the same time, there is still some money to be made in DVD sales, in the movie still in the theaters. So by them saying, we abandon it, then it's going to automatically turn off any of the fan base that hasn't decided to go see it. Yeah. Because when the creator abandons it, you can't expect the fans to support it. I think there is some validity to them being really smart about it, that they need to put the money in the right place before they even begin filming.
I think they're learning they're going to have to dial the budgets back. I don't think they're going to delay these, but I think they are going to cut the scope back, cut the budget back.
Part of the problem with the Solo movie in particular, and this is not spoiler, essentially you start with a character that you think you already know a lot about. He goes through an adventure and does things that you would expect him to do about when you expect that he would.
Sure.
And he ends up where we see him, not age-wise, time-wise, but he's got the ship you want him to have, he's got the buddy you want him to have, and okay, we know that he does some more traveling in the meantime, gets involved with some gangster somewhere, some giant slug gangster. But beyond that, there's no other storytelling that needs to be done for him. And I don't mind that it dovetails well enough, but I used the word dovetail when it came to Rogue One. It does dovetail seamlessly into tech.
We've talked about this. It creates small continuity issues that have bothered me. Several. One
glaring.
Two I would call glaring.
Okay, let's talk about it. Spoiler alert
for Rogue One, and also spoiler alert for Episode 4, A New Hope. If you haven't seen it, it's been out since '78, so you've had your chance.
No, even if you know what happens, it's still good.
No, my two problems, the two biggest continuity issues that Rogue One brought up were, why doesn't Darth Vader just charge into the Tantive 5 and kill everybody like he did at the end of Rogue One? He's super powerful, he's got a lightsaber, he wrecked those guys.
Yeah.
Why does he send a bunch of stormtroopers in? Why does he just go in?
Yeah.
Glaring problem. And I know the fans he used up all his Force energy or whatever. Well, Force energy, we've never seen anything in the films to indicate that there's any sort of limit or reservoir that they need to pull
That's
from.
An anime answer.
Yeah, that's silly. Secondly, we see clearly, as does Darth Vader himself, the plans for the Death Star being passed hand to hand on board the Tantive 5.
I'd say those are the same continuity issue.
No. It leads to a lines of dialogue in episode 4 where he says multiple times, plans were beamed aboard this ship by rebel spies.
I'm going to beam you my
pen, and it really bothers me because it's just those. That's what bothers me about the new movies in general is these little. Those are those little details that if you care about this series and you are a fan of it and you pay attention to it, that would not happen. Because as you're making the film, you'd be like, "Oh no, that
a different ship, and this one is over here." And you see the guy run over, slam a memory stick into a machine. Boop, 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 boop. Someone's coming, and then he hits the giant red button to send it. And everything else would have been the same.
Yeah, and then we go over to the Tantive 5, and you still get to have the CGI Leia moment, the weird one. The plans they're beaming aboard now, princess. Okay, fixed. So that's what I'm saying. Those little tiny tweaks that could have been made, but I think what bothers me about these films is it seems to me like the people making them don't care enough. But you can say the same thing about George Lucas because he made a lot of the similar mistakes in the prequels that ruined continuity in the older films. He's the guy who made the damn thing, so
I would say that the Solo movie does enough to repair the way things should have been done for some of these movies to tell part of a pre-anthology. It doesn't harm anything that came before it or after it, however you look at chronology. It wasn't necessary, but it was still a fun romp with a character that we all love and, spoiler, had to say goodbye to not too long ago. So it worked for me enough where my DVD buying time is over. I don't buy hardly any new physical media, with the exception of a lot of these Marvel movies, and then not all of them. So Black Panther, absolutely. Thor Ragnarok, must have. Any of the Avengers movies.
It's on Netflix, by the way. Yes. Just came on Netflix.
What, Thor?
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. When Black Panther hits Netflix is going to go through the roof. But I'm not going to buy Rogue One. Probably not going to buy The Last Jedi. I bought Force Awakens. It's good. It is a good movie. It is a fun
movie. It's a good example of even ignoring the setting, you're still making a good movie.
But I might buy Solo. I might. We'll see.
Okay.
That's my seal of approval. Do I spend money on it or not?
I think my biggest issue, and this is the criticism I've heard coming up with these other two spinoffs, everybody is criticizing the idea of the Boba Fett spinoff because they're like, oh, well, we don't know anything about this character. How can you make a movie around him? That's the character I want to make a spinoff movie about. I don't want to hear, because going back to something you said, Han Solo, we already know where he's going to end up. He's going to end up in the cantina with Chewie and the ship. With that attitude, we don't need to see that film because we already know what's going to happen in the film. That's totally.
But it's a show that does a flashback.
Sure,
and see why
I'm just saying from a storytelling perspective, from a writing perspective, it's self.
The smart thing that they did.
It's just pleasing yourself.
The smart thing that they did. Imagine the story of Han Solo is an arc here. We see him start, he goes through an adventure, this is where he ends. He ends up on a parallel path in the future. But the ship looks dirtier and dingier. Yeah. He's gone through a lot. He's older. There are other references that they make in the movies that they didn't hit every single point, but they hit a lot of them. But what they did right is they reconnected, or set off new loops for other characters. One that you see at the end of the movie has been touched in other media, explained fairly well, and it makes sense. And now you have this other character that's come back that's a fan favorite that we can do another sequel. Maybe it's another Solo sequel.
That's silly, but I still would rather do that than what really bothers me is Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was on Tatooine and hiding. I don't want to know what he was doing. He wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, I want him to have done nothing. I want him to have gone in hiding, sat in a hole, and just thought about what he did wrong.
That's what's implied that he did. That would be a terrible film. Maybe they'll do it. No, I want to see the Boba Fett movie because we don't know anything about that character. He has all of 30 seconds of screen time. Give him a movie. Let's go have fun with bounty hunters. Let's go explore a side of the universe that we haven't in the films.
I would like to see a bounty hunters movie because this was essentially a rogues movie.
Right.
Done fairly well, although one character that as soon as I saw him on screen, not only I know he was going to die, I couldn't wait for it to happen because it was over cheesy, and it was one of the few times where I felt like the voice was never coming out of the mouth of the character. I feel like Jabba the Hutt is talking every time I see him.
Oh, yeah.
That's his throat. Those are his words. I know he's got 8 people working him from inside, but that's his voice.
Magnificent puppetry.
But this movie failed on that aspect. But Boba Fett, where? I
want to know more about him.
I don't, because he died like a bee.
No, I take that back. I don't want to know more about him. I want to see him have adventures. I don't care about his backstory. I don't care about him as a character.
I want to see him putting together his Mandalorian piecemealed armor. Why it was different than what he inherited
from Jango.
From Jango Fart.
I'll be interested to see. I mean, they can't redo that canon, but I'll be interested to see how much they play with it.
They should redo that canon somehow.
I don't
know.
know.
But the final thing I learned about Star Wars is Rian Johnson is is tagged at the moment, I believe, to do another trilogy.
Yeah, there's another trilogy after these new movies that they want to give him for some reason. Because he did such a great job with Last Jedi.
Maybe if you start with something fresh and new, you can tell the story in a more cohesive way that the fan base isn't already so knowledgeable about the facts and the nuances and with their expectations. Because one of the reasons I like Firefly is every character's new. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's playing off of these tropes of the Western.
You don't go into it already knowing those characters, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting Captain Kirk to be in a space show. Mm-hmm. This is a whole new guy.
Yeah.
You can do that. Jump forward in the future. It works with the other Star Trek shows. Voyager worked well because it wasn't the original cast, and it was 10, 15 years in the future from the last thing we had seen. And you keep moving it forward. When you go back to something like Enterprise, there are expectations of the way everything came together.
Or the new movies, which is part of the reason I hate them so much. Just, even Discovery, which thanks, but that goes.
I'm gonna give it a chance because
I hear
so much of that time bendy stuff and mirror universe stuff starts to play.
They touch into that
a better role. And I'm like, okay, so you're doing something unique here, and maybe that is the story. You are not the intrepid first pioneers going nobly where no one has gone before. You're the people in the screwed up timeline with all the twisty whirly stuff that you got to deal with. Okay,
we'll see.
Star Wars, we could talk about that forever.
There's one other rumor that I heard. This could potentially be spoilers, but it really isn't. Another spin-off idea that it sounds like they're talking about actually doing. Actually, there's two rumors I want to talk about.
Is it Chewie babies? It's like Muppet babies, but all Wookiees?
It's our man Lando. No, I'm sorry. Wait, no, this isn't a spin-off. This is a spoiler for Episode 9. Excuse me. The rumor is...
Oh, okay.
I don't think this will come true, but the rumor is Lando might show up in Episode 9.
I'd love that. Well, now, that might be a very smart way to solve some of the storytelling issues that occurred with Carrie's passing.
That's true. Yeah.
You need to have a character who is venerated within the community, and Lando would be a perfect, because he did help out the rebellion. He did join them.
He was a general.
At the end, he joined them.
He was a general, yeah.
He sure pooched the screw earlier, but
somebody heard about his maneuver at the Battle of something. I've forgotten that line. I'm a bad nerd. But yeah, the other rumor, again for Episode 9, is John Boyega tweeted out that he's growing his hair out for the film.
Cool.
So the speculation is that there's going to be a substantial
time jump.
Yeah, I read 5 years or more.
Why not? That is one of the biggest issues when people are still trying to rag on Return of the Jedi. Is because they go, well, how did Luke complete his training and become so powerful so quickly? You assume that this is the next day. You assume this is 2 weeks later. What happened between the two movies could have been 2 or 3 years to stage.
He could have gone to train a little bit. Sure.
So the time jump in movies, between movies, or sometimes even between scenes, like, you can't just... you've got your warp speed, but that still takes time, ladies and gentlemen.
In the original movies it did. Now it's like, we can go to Coruscant. We can go across the galaxy in 5 minutes.
Zoop, over here.
George Lucas screwed that up terribly in the prequels. But
I would say I did like, in the prequels, the jump rings for the smaller fighters.
Oh, super cool. The Jedi fighters, where they leave it in orbit and they go down, they come back up and connect it.
I thought that was a really cool way to do the long distance travel.
Honestly,
but for a single
all
person.
of the design work in that film, I think, is great.
Corellian Corvette,
all of the ships. Honestly, even the robots and stuff, even the droid armies, I think are really cool looking. Really,
some of the best Lego sets I've ever owned.
They lead to, but there's a lot to rag on the prequels, but some of the design, even in the new movies, the design is still really, really, really good. So, yeah, well, that's when you have Ralph McQuarrie leading in charge. He's wonderful, or was wonderful.
We're talking solar system, universe-sized let's swing things down. Let's go local.
Local?
Let's go
as
smaller.
local as we possibly can.
Let's bring it as local
on
a map as you could get.
So we'll start this off talking a little bit about an experience I got to have just yesterday, in fact. Something that I've been wanting to do desperately for a long time when I visited a local, I was going to say institution, I don't know if you can call them that, but a local place that I've been meaning to since they opened and just have never found the time. But Asheville Pinball Museum.
We've talked about it many times, tried to get out there a couple of times, just didn't happen.
For us, we live fairly far outside the city. Yeah. Getting down there is a pain in the paying for parking, et cetera, et cetera. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. Asheville Pinball Museum is wonderful. If you're local, you live in the area, Western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, it's worth the trip. It's the most impressive collection of pinball games I've ever seen, for sure. They have probably 30 more. I'd have to look up on their website. Different tables, most of which are working. They have a few. They really live up to the museum aspect. They have some of the really old machines from like the 50s that are not working, but they have information. Every machine you play has a placard that tells you who made it, when it was released, how many units, trivia about it. Really neat. So as you're playing, you're learning about the machines. They also have, 30 or 40 arcade machines, classic stuff. I mean, actual, Millipede, Pac-Man, Galaga.
Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, the table, the two.
They don't have the two-sided table, but all of the cabinets they have are
you go to any Pizza Hut in town.
They still have one at the pizza place down here, the road, actually. But so you've got this combination. You go in. I would say it's kind of pricey if you're not there. We were there for a couple of hours, 2.5 hours. It's $15. So I use my logic of, well, that's about a movie ticket if you go see a big budget movie, in the evening. 2.5 hours is fair enough. But if you were to go early enough, $15 for the day, all free play except for one, which bothers me. I need to go back. They have one game you actually have to put quarters in. It's their the original Star Wars arcade game. The roster image X-Wing game where you sit in it. Something I played a ton as a kid. You have to pay 50 cents to play it because it's apparently delicate, is what they say. I think it's mostly because it's so popular. They don't know.
That might be true, but maybe the repairs to keep it working.
That's what they said. It needs a lot of extra repairs.
Yeah, I could see that.
But overall, it is a phenomenal place. They have some awesome tables. I'm a big fan of pinball, but I don't get a chance to play a lot physically. I have a pinball game on my PC that I play. I've got 30 or 40 tables on that, and what was really fun is I got to play several tables that I've played, tons of times on PC, play them for the first time physically, and really see how they play in real life and how they interact. That's a ton of fun for me, and figuring out the tables. Found a couple new favorites. Played Attack from Mars, which is... I
played that one.
A phenomenal table with a big flying saucer in the middle. What was really frustrating is that it's the most popular table there because it's easy to play and it's like it shakes a lot and stuff. So it was really hard to get in to actually play it, which was annoying. But overall, it was a wonderful experience. The staff there is awesome, super attentive. They're always there if you have any issues. They're right on top of it to help you out. Really nice, knowledgeable about the tables and everything. A lot of fun. My issue, and what kind of leads this to a larger discussion talking about local places like this, was kind of the market that they find themselves in. Because I was discussing this after the fact with somebody who went with me about what I expect and want out of a place like Asheville Pinball Museum. This is a local institution for local nerds where we get to go. There's a membership.
Yeah.
This is all theoretical because this doesn't exist as far as I know. But it would be nice if there was a membership you paid every month and you could go whenever. There would be tournaments every Tuesday where you get together in the same... It's a group of regulars. And so you go in and there's Billy and there's Jane and let's get together and have a little mini tournament on the spot.
Yeah, a lot of competition. He finally knocked me off the leaderboard.
Exactly. I got to go see who beat my high score. That kind of thing. That's what I would expect from a place like that. People who actually are passionate about retro games and pinball. What you get, because it's smack dab in the middle of downtown Asheville and walking distance of a dozen hotels, is it was almost entirely tourists and a ton of children, smaller children, who obviously were bored because pinball is not that fun when you're a kid, maybe for 5 minutes, and then it kind of gets dull. It's repetitive, and so
if I paid an amount to be there and I could play the same table over and over again, yeah, I'm gonna. All right, music time. I'm gonna be here for an hour.
Okay.
I'm gonna play this table.
Exactly.
For a
Yeah, I'm
long
gonna
time.
because that's how you get good at pinballs. You have to play the same table over and over, learn how it plays,
learn nuances of each table,
learn all the different ways to score, and how that table's set up, because some of them have a certain lean or something like that. Hello, cat. What happened instead is you had these random tourists who didn't understand the etiquette of an arcade,
right?
Who would sit there on the same machine. And at one point, Attack from Mars, I wanted to play it again because it's probably my favorite table of all time. And I was like, I want to play it one more time before the place closes. And there were people there for like half an hour playing, and they were taking selfies, like, let me take a selfie on the Instagram, haha. And it's it hurts me because we are all about inclusivity. Is that a word? We're all about inclusiveness. We're all about trying to draw new people to our hobbies because that's really important. So I don't want to say, oh, well, people who don't know about this shouldn't do it. But when it's just random people who have nothing better to do and they're just hanging out, like teenagers who don't care, and their parents paid and dropped them off and said, here, hang out. They get in the way. They're not really appreciating what the hobby is. And they're in the way of enthusiasts, people who actually really love what that is. Mm-hmm.
Hello, Melanie. Really, thanks for joining. How you doing? If you have any questions or comments, please post them here on the feed.
Indeed. Any questions, shout them out at us.
Well, here's my thought.
Yeah.
Pinball Museum, the lights are kept on because of those tourists.
It is, and that's the market they're in. Absolutely.
Because we have a couple other places that we like to patronize, not like na-na-na-na-na, but we like to visit and give them our money.
Right.
But I'm not able to always get out there. So while I love Well Played,
yeah.
I don't get out there as often as I'd like to, partly because we do live outside of town.
Kind of a pain to get down there.
So I'm happy to go and pay a little bit here and pay a little bit there, but I can't keep a yearly membership going because I'm not going to use it. Yeah. But the person who's staying downtown, what is there to do? Go check out this pinball museum. Yeah. Maybe they don't appreciate it like we do. But when you're running a business, sometimes you do have to cater that lower denominator.
You absolutely have to. You do. And Well Played is a great comparison. Well Played is also smack dab downtown, like a block and a half from Pinball Museum, actually. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Pardon me. And I know they rely on that tourist traffic like Pinball Museum does. There's a ton of tourists in there. But when we go there, I've never felt like, oh, these tourists are in my way. I can't, as a board game nerd, I can't enjoy this spot. I've always enjoyed it because even if, they're playing the game I want to play, well, they've got 14 other copies, so it's fine. Or I can find something else. They've got hundreds and hundreds of board games, and you're never lacking in something to play. The staff is knowledgeable, attentive, etc. There's nothing in the way there.
Here you want to get on that table and you think that they're going to play for 10, 15 minutes. Eventually you'll get on, but then they just won't.
One quarter. You play your 3 balls and then you give somebody else a chance.
Yeah.
So
it's like in a game of pool. Someone puts their 75 cents on the table, they get next dibs.
I got to the point where I wanted to take some quarters out and lay them on the machine and be like, I got next. Like, but kids wouldn't know that etiquette these days because arcades don't really exist.
You just grab them by the collar. Their scruffy neck. You just drag them outside.
Instagram this. So it got me thinking about that kind of like there's a dichotomy of retro and nerdy is in as a business. True. You're seeing it more and more growing up. But they're you're trying to cater to 2 different crowds really. You're trying to cater to the regular nerds who live in your town versus the tourists that are coming through. So I feel like a place like Pinball Museum would be better in almost any other city because we're such a tourist town. We're so, you have to cater to that. Whereas if you open it up in actually a Pinball Museum just opened in Atlanta, I feel like there's enough support there just from local nerds.
Or maybe if there's a day that's members only day where Sundays are when the members can come and do
hours. Pinball Museum downtown Asheville opens at 2. So it's like, well, we'll do 12 to 2 for members only.
That would be
We
fun.
can come in and play, and then the normies can show up after
Now, we
that.
talked once about having a party down there.
Mm.
And so you can essentially rent out the space. How does that work?
Oh, at Pinball Museum?
Yeah.
I didn't see anything about it, honestly, but I'm sure it's expensive.
See, I think that would be a fun way to do something where
Yes.
you have a local tournament that you only host on every quarter.
Right.
And you shut the whole business down for that day. Oh, sorry, you're here for the tournament. Or if you're not... But then that could still be a premium price day. Not $15 a day, $25, but there's also going to be light refreshments.
$5 to get in and watch, $25 to enter and play.
Exactly.
So yeah, Well Played is a board game bar here in Asheville that straddles the line a little bit better, I think. We've been to another place, Barcade or Retrocade, Asheville Retrocade. It's just called Retrocade. It's in West Asheville. The thing about that place is there's less tourists in that area,
Right.
so it felt a little bit more locally, but really the creme de la creme here locally for me for nerd stuff is Wyvern's Tale, which is we'll get to talking about that later with our table topic. A tabletop RPG primarily focused. They sell board games as well, but gaming store. Mm-hmm. But the great thing about them is they're over on, if you're local, you'll know Merriman Avenue. It's far outside downtown. It's a little tiny building on the side of a major highway, a little tiny parking lot. Ain't no tourists going in there.
Not really, no.
So when you roll in, you know people who are there want to be there. They're there because they're seeking that out.
I honestly think that does a slight detriment to it.
In ways, yeah.
Which I can talk a little bit more about.
Yeah, we'll get to that
in a little bit, but I think there is something to be said about something being that perfect middle.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to achieve.
It's really hard to do.
It's either too much for the locals,
yeah.
too, like if you don't know somebody, you don't know what's going on, you're not in, you're not
feel unwelcome when you walk in.
Yeah. Or it's random, you live here, you want to embrace the business, but it doesn't seem to be built for you.
Yeah, it's not for you.
I think Pinball Museum is probably pretty close from the way you described it, but I think they could probably take a couple steps in that direction. But it's still, what a cool business to have nearby, to get to play these retro games, because how often do you go to a bar or some other, usually a drinking establishment, where you go, hey, look, they have a pinball table, and you gravitate towards it.
You play the one pinball,
There's a couple at a barbecue restaurant downtown Hendersonville where I walked in and I went to sit at this table with my wife and some very dear friends, but every few minutes I'm wishing I wasn't with them and playing that pinball table. So I like the idea that there's a place to congregate for like-minded nerds in various places all around Hendersonville and Asheville for gaming, tabletop gaming, board gaming, especially. Well Played is an amazing
amazing. It's so well put together and well organized and well set up.
I think for a small birthday gathering, but even like a date, like a first or second date.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's
like we're going to go to the movie where we can't talk to each other. No, let's
go play a board game together and have a beer. No.
Get a beer or a Coke, and they have like
Soft
neat
drink.
little snacks and hors d'oeuvres and desserts, really good desserts. Mm-hmm. That's a better date than. You spend the same amount of money on the movie and you don't talk to each other.
Yeah, what is it, $10 for Well Played? 5 or 10? It's very cheap.
Yeah.
It's actually really inexpensive. So, oh right, Gilly Elise reminded me at Pinball Museum they also have a jukebox that unfortunately doesn't work. It's funny, they have a sign that says you can push the buttons all you want. It doesn't work. But it's not just a jukebox. It also has a video screen, so it plays the video of the song, and it's all 80s. That's great.
Cute.
And it makes you want to spend. It's in a corner of one of the retro arcade game areas, and it's like I want to stay here and play these because the music is perfect.
Yeah. It was something as simple at a local oil and lube place right up the street here that looks like it's something out of Mayberry.
Yeah, the retro
off
place.
the Andy Griffith show.
Yeah.
But the interior is all that kitschy old automotive gear, but they have this box that looks like it used to have an old cathode ray tube TV in it.
That's cool.
But they stuck a newer TV, but it still fit inside, and they're playing episodes of Andy Griffith.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's it's so on the nose that it's perfect, and it makes me, even though that wasn't my favorite show of all time, and if it's on TV, I'm probably going to find something else, but it's so sweet, and it makes me feel a certain way when I go there to get my oil change. Then I enjoy that, and to have retro music, not modern, I don't need to hear Nicki Minaj or Cardi B playing when I'm hanging out with Ninja Turtles Arcade.
Yeah.
I want something that's Michael Jackson, old Michael Jackson, or Paula Abdul. Like that's where I need to go.
There's some Rick James playing. It was
that'd be cool.
It was yeah. It felt good, especially the back areas. It was dimmer. It took you back a little bit to those days of our childhood, going into arcades and hearing that ding 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 noise.
Oh
and,
yeah,
that smell of like burning electronics, and it was
smell of tickets.
Yeah,
smell of so many tickets.
The tokens.
I've told you this before. I'm fairly certain. When I was recently back in Pigeon Forge, going down the strip, and I haven't been there, and it's been almost 20 years. But I guarantee it's gone. But the one little arcade that had the horse racing game, my sister and my brother-in-law and my cousin Joe would remember this. And you bet on the horses. So there are like 5 horses, different colors. You basically put in your quarter and hit the color that you want to win. And if you get second place, third place, you get a couple tickets. First place, you get a lot. Well, we found the pattern that there's one horse that will always come in second place, one horse that will always lose. And so we figured out, like, okay, if we hit blue, black, and white, we're all going to win every time. And we spent about $20 between all of us, and we got about $150 worth of tickets. So we're buying knives and whips
the
and
nice stuff that's
leather wallets.
That's on the back in the case.
Yeah, they're just like, where did you get these tickets? Like, we're not going to tell you because we might come back tomorrow and clean you out again. But I'm sure that machine is long gone. But if I ever see it again, friends, you can make a lot of money off that.
Well, would you like to take a short break since we're about halfway through our topics?
Yeah, we're going to take about a 5 to 8 minute little recess.
Yeah, let me kick over here and get this thingy. I'm sorry. Hang on. Wait. Where do I...
Wrong one.
How do I switch that over?
Little flippity floppity.
It doesn't do it.
Doesn't do that?
There it is. Studio mode. Sorry about that, guys. Let me kick that over. And then let me adjust this. But yeah, we're going to step away for just a minute.
And while Zach's making an adjustment, if you're watching, go ahead and throw some comments or questions in the little feed here to give us something to chew on and to come back to you with. So if you want to know our opinion on anything tech, nerd, want to know how we're doing, Gil, you know a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, so you get to ask the fun, juiciest questions. Whitney, Melanie, John, Jeremy, anyone else who's watching who hasn't yet commented,
pile it in.
Please do. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes.
We'll be right back. There we go.
Are we there?
Once again, Leroy. Oh, hello, cat. Kitty cat.
Talking about you, dude.
Oh, he's gonna come down here.
Oh, the big boy's coming.
Oh, that's a big kitty. Oh, look at that kitty.
That's a lot of cat.
I'm a kitty. Okay, enough of that.
He's so patient.
Our viewers just went up 400%, and then immediately,
when the cat went
as soon
away.
as I put the cat back down.
Yeah, you got to keep the cat around.
All right. I'm sorry, buddy.
If this was called Cat Talk,
Cat Talk. You're watching Cat Talk with Tappet and Kibble. Tip and
Kibble.
Well, who are the guys in Car Talk? Tappet and Clack and Tappet, or the two brothers. Anyway, forget about it. So yeah, before we move on, we do have call this an unboxing?
Yeah. We normally sort of steer clear from this kind of thing openly outward, but we want to do something. This may go horribly wrong. I got this bottle of port a long time ago. When I was just getting into wine, if that tells you. So we're looking at 10, 11 years. It was stored moderately correctly on its side.
Good.
Temperature variation was not controlled as I would like it to have been.
That's okay.
But it was in a house. It was indoors.
It's fortified. It's fine.
Fortified a port style, or is this technically a port? It's a Porto.
Part of Portugal.
Okay.
It's port. If it's made in Portugal, they can't say port unless it's a port.
Recently, a woman that I've been married to 6 years as of tomorrow
Recently.
Was at a wine selling facility and got to explain to someone what a port was, or learned about it. I know this. I already know this. I'm so smart. It's amazing how a little bit of wine knowledge goes a long way. It's a lot like a first-year psych student.
Yep. You all of a sudden you think you know everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's got a twist off. So unfortunately, but I was going to show this to any of our longtime fans. You probably recognize one of these painted up. It's something I haven't used in a long time. A long time.
Good long time, or just a long time?
Obi-Wan quote.
For a long time.
Long time. So for that reason, when the Obi-Wan movie comes out, if they call him Obi-Wan instead of Ben, it'll ruin that scene. Because he hasn't been called Obi-Wan in a long time. So if they do a movie where it's 2 years before...
Yeah, why would they call it Obi-Wan when the whole movie he's supposed to be old Ben? Ben Kenobi.
Oh, well, I am going to need the corkscrew because...
See, that's part of my fear.
Let's see if it's probably going to be a wee bit corked. Oh, no! Ooh, wow, that is... Okay. Ooh, almost had it. Almost had it, and then it...
It's probably going to pour in your hand.
No, I pulled it back up enough to where it sealed it, but I can't get the corkscrew into it without pushing it further into the bottle. Yep.
Do what you gotta do.
Okay, well, yeah, it's going to be poured with a cork down in it. That's the unfortunate thing about older bottles, is unless they're using really fine cork, it's going to break apart like that. Anyway, here we go. A port. An actual port from Lord knows how long ago.
We did a really interesting wine tasting in my home a year ago, 2 years ago, with a lot of wine.
Older stuff.
Yeah, and only one bottle out of the 4 or 5 bottles we opened survived age.
This smells from a distance.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Strong.
Oh, yeah.
But not... I'll let it open a second.
Yeah, I think that... Actually does not smell bad at all. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised there, but
I'm catching a little something. It's not quite Band-Aid, but a little, a little.
I'm not getting anything off. I'm getting what is it? Maderization.
Mm-hmm. That's the next Cars movie. That's the Mater standalone.
Maderization. It smells lovely, actually. I'm kind of excited. Cheers.
Cheers
to being a nerd
Yeah, to being a nerd.
And drinking
good
port. Oh, gosh. It tastes like grape soda. It tastes like grape cough medicine.
Oh, it tastes like pureed cranberry, blueberry, like tastes like a blueberry fig bar.
Oh, I just got fig. Right before you said that, I was like, Fig Newton. And you said fig. And it's
blueberry fig.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's shockingly good.
Yeah.
I was not sure. And that's solid.
So there you go. Be careful with these things. What we've learned is that they're fortified.
They are fortified.
Which means alcohol content a little higher.
Oh, never mind.
On average.
It says California in the back, but it was imported. Yeah, 20%.
20%.
Not ridiculous, but you don't want to have a couple of full glasses. So there's our unboxing for this episode. Instead of random meats, we're doing random port.
The random meats would go so good.
They actually would. I wish I had the rest of that bison for a little while. I wish I would have kept it. I might have some meat in there if you want me to dig around. But.
I'll tell you about the I don't remember who got it for me, but I got one of the Hickory Farms sausages that was like
the giant
this
one?
huge
summer sausage.
And I did my best to eat all of it, and it just was not going to happen because you can't.
It's so much compressed animal.
You really can't keep it fresh. Because after a while, that end that's exposed will start to...
It's all crusty.
And moldy even. Yeah. So I maybe got about a third of the way through it over several days of just constantly meat and crackers. But after a while, I joke about it, but I got the meat sweats. And that is too much.
Well, we're going to have the port sweats here in a minute.
Ooh. I can deal with that.
But welcome back. Sorry for the little delay there. We have returned. We're going to do the second half of our episode here. Enjoy this lovely beverage that we've got in front of us that actually is continuing to be lovely. I'm really happy with this.
Can I do something very different?
Yes.
John, if you're watching and you want to come over and get a taste of this, come over.
Yeah, come on over. If anybody, some of our local friends and family and fans who are nearby and able to pop on over, if you'd like to have a taste of this, it's actually surprisringly good. So pop on over. I've got a couple more glasses at least.
So if you want to sip for the rest of the feed, is that okay with you?
Sure.
I figured John in particular because I know where he is.
Just send me a message if you are coming, anybody, so that I know to expect you.
Someone threw a balloon at me. I don't know what that means.
Oh.
A balloon was cast across the screen.
All right, we're the balloon cast now. But yeah, moving on. Let's move on to our next topic. And you had an interesting one that I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm going to consider this a challenge for myself.
Well,
and maybe our viewers too.
I get a little exhausted with all of the top 10. The
clickbait.
The absolute clickbait that is things like BuzzFeed. But then every now and again, BuzzFeed does an interesting article. And it was top 10 or 8 cartoons that you probably won't remember.
Okay.
And as soon as I read that headline, I thought...
Challenge accepted?
You might get 1 out of 10 that I wouldn't know. And that's because, this only aired in Australia in 1987.
That's not fair.
Or maybe it was a Japanese anime import that I don't know. I figured I'm going to know all of these, no problem whatsoever. And it turns out there are so many varied, interesting little 1980s, maybe as far as like 1992 cartoons that came out so quickly that you just can't keep up with all of them.
There was a glut. Saturday morning cartoons, at certain time slots just turned over constantly. And then you had afternoon cartoon programming.
Well, before we get into some of which cartoons that I had on my list, I wanted to ask you a little bit about why you think some cartoons succeeded and others didn't get the notoriety, especially when a lot of the same animation houses, so the quality of the animation from some of these was exactly the same. Yeah. And of course, a lot of them were just made to make toys. Right. But why is it that this worked and that one didn't?
I think that's part of it, honestly, is the toy aspect, because I think back to some of the most popular cartoons when we were kids, and some of the ones that I liked the most, and most of them were based on toys, and it wasn't, I love G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers to a slightly lesser extent. The movie's great, but anyway, the quality of those, I would say, was poor. Really poor. Like, the animation, animation quality, the frames, there's like, Thundercats is a great example. There's frames of Thundercats where, the characters aren't colored in and stuff. It's like, how did they miss that? It's just this cheap, crapping it out sort of animation. I think the toy tie-in, I love G.I. Joe because I had the G.I. Joe toys. And I loved playing with those toys. So then I wanted to watch the show to see that same adventure happening. And then take that adventure and play with the toys with it.
Well, that was the concept. And a lot of the things that we did love were made to be toys. Right. The toy was what, the reason, and it was what G.I. Joe did. G.I. Joe, the cartoon, was a commercial for the toys typically and they would vehicle sets.
They would have the toy first. And then they would say, well, here's a great idea with this toy release. Let's release a cartoon.
Well, this was a time when you couldn't exactly advertise to children the same way.
Right.
That whatever the FCC was at the time was cracking down on it. So the only way you could was to have a TV show, which itself was a commercial, and then do a comic book, which was a tie-in, which was still just a commercial for the toys. And G.I. Joe was kind of the shining example of that. But it was effective, and it did allow you to take that action, that story home. Because I can read the blister pack on the back, but I don't know the cool catchphrase that Shipwreck had in G.I. Joe until I saw that he was this wisecracking character. And it makes so much more sense. Whoa.
Let's not go up there. Come here, cat. Come over.
Well, speaking of Thundercats...
Thundercats. I think that I would say that's my number one.
And hi, Bethany, by the way.
Hello, Bethany. For quality would be or longevity. How they were successful would be that. Partially, it was also quality. For some of them, I think back to Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters. That was still a toy tie-in. They were still, there was a toy series to go along with that, but it was based on a film that was beloved even by children at that time. And the quality, not necessarily of the animation of that show, but the writing, the imagination of that show, where it was all these crazy, wild adventures with these crazy ghosts, that was attractive as a kid. Whereas I want to see these crazy, with G.I. Joe, it's like, oh, well, they're going to fight Cobra and win. And
they had so many cool cars and jet planes and rockets and
but I think like writing on something like
the inventiveness of the weird, creepy ghosts and the character designs, the ghost designs,
or the constant changing of what's going on in something like Uncanny X-Men, where you're almost episodic and you're wanting to see what's happening, rather than tying it into a toy. The writing and the what makes those shows still attractive to us today as adults. Those are the things that also attract us as a kid. So then you had shows that we were talking before when we started airing. My great example is Samurai Pizza Cats, where it's a bad ripoff with, I guess they had toys, but it wasn't a big push for them. Just garbage, and nobody remembers it because it was just junk. There was nothing. Fun. It was fun. I'm not saying it was a bad show, but it didn't have the longevity of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for so many different reasons.
And I'm still really upset that they never picked up my spin-off series or parallel universe series, Adolescent Deformed Samurai Sausages.
Okay.
I actually created my own little comic spread.
Did you send it in?
There were 8 of them, and they all had names like Relish. They were all hot dog based.
I had a set of action figures that were food
wars.
Food fight. I had that.
Yeah.
The hot dog.
Guess when that came? after Adolescent Deformed Samurai Sausage.
I think you should take...
It was too much meat.
You should...
We could come back around.
Sausage party. We should take your idea to that struggling company we were talking about earlier, Disney, because they might be interested. They
need some help. This could be their new... this could be their first ever franchise.
Hit us up, Disney. We can save your company right now. This is a $1 billion
I gave
idea.
you one of my 4 booths at E3, Disney.
We did. We gave you one of our booths at E3. Just for you, because we know you're struggling, especially in the Chinese market.
That's right. So, hit me up.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Mr. Jonathan Disney.
Billy Disney?
Billy Disney?
Well, Billy Disney.
I'm going to throw a couple to you, see if you've ever heard of this before.
So this is the challenge. I want to see if I recognize them. And those of you watching at home, if you recognize them, let us know.
Yeah, say, I know it, and then say the name of the cartoon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be easy. These are things that I didn't know.
Okay,
so
then I almost certainly
we're talking deep knowledge.
The deep web?
Galtar and the Golden Lance.
Nope.
This was an outer space sword and sorcery affair with a lighthearted blonde warrior named Galtar. So I actually got to watch the previews for the intro to these.
He-Man in space, basically?
Some of these are...
He-Man was in space, but still...
But he was on a planet.
Yeah.
Galtar. This reminds me of a mix between the original Johnny Quest and then the Herculoids.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Was it like Zoltan the Herculoids or some kind of name like Kazar and the Herculoids? Yeah. But it has a combination of that kind of the very slow, but like the characters would kind of be poised and then only move their mouth for a little bit,
right?
And then you'd
have
but the monster design. Very akin to the Herculoids. So it had a really cool, inventive barbarian in space motif.
Okay. Classic trope.
This one was insulting. Laser Tag Academy. What? So when laser tag became a thing...
Right, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, like in the mid-80s. Laser tag became a brand, I believe.
Yeah, the home laser tag set. Yeah, that didn't work ever.
So the series was based on this one laser tag academy person who goes back in time to get their 3 relatives.
What?
And gives them laser tag guns.
In the past?
In the past.
What?
To chase a guy in the past and the future. And they shoot laser guns, but the laser guns also shoot ice beams or fire, whatever they happen to need at that time.
Okay.
It is terrible. It was clearly like, okay, we gotta... What do we got? We're gonna shoot guns.
They got a laser gun. They got laser guns.
They got lasers.
Let's send them in the past.
Lasers can do anything. It's the future.
The kids like to time travel. Let's send them into the past.
One that you might actually have heard of.
Okay.
Which I'm deeply considering finding.
Okay.
The Mighty Orbots.
No, I don't remember that one either.
This is one where they have like 2 intros for it. The first one's like, and see this person, Dr. Rob, as he builds the Mighty Orbots. Can they stop evil? You bet they can. And so it is a Voltron ripoff.
Oh, okay.
But it's got a very anime-inspired... Like, the robots themselves are a little bit Mega Man.
But still a Western cartoon?
Still a Western cartoon. But they combine together to the Mighty Orbot. But each of them has their own personality. And instead of it being a giant robot, it's more of a normal person-sized robot.
Okay.
So I don't know if when they connect they get massive.
Or, okay.
But it looks like a really fun cartoon, and it has one of the best intros right along with like Silverhawks, like beautiful.
Okay.
Where the animation's cool and colorful, and you go, I want to watch that show. But then you actually see the animation in the show, and it's garbage. It's pretty poor.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say, when you said Orbots, I thought it was going to be a poor man's knockoff of GoBots, which is a poor man knockoff of Transformers.
Well, GoBots was a part of Transformers.
GoBots did precede Transformers, I believe, if I remember correctly. But anyway, sorry.
Maybe not Transformers, but the company is the same, the toy company.
Please continue.
How about Ring Raiders? Ring Raiders are made up of history's best pilots brought together to protect civilization.
Yes, I had several Ring Raiders. They were rings that you wore, and they had an airplane on the top. And so you would go like this. Rather than hold the plane, which is let's face it, unrealistic. You had a plastic ring with a clear plastic sprue, kind of like what you see on D&D minis.
Yeah,
and then an airplane on the top. Yes, I've seen that cartoon a couple of episodes. I had the toys before and after. It was more about the toys were cool because we liked airplanes as a kid. But I have seen long ago a little bit of that show.
That one, the intro was one of the most boring things I've ever seen. But the idea is interesting that the best pilots throughout history have been brought together.
Yeah, because it was all... There were jet fighters, there were prop planes, it was all mixed together.
But then when they did their ring power, the jet would like magically transform into more like a rocket ship version.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That one, I could see something like that being rebooted.
I've been digging through a lot of my old stuff lately, and I'm 60-70% sure I still have some Ring Raiders. So if I do, I'll haul them out. We'll have them on the next episode.
How about Space Sentinels?
No, that's not Cowboys in Space because that
is not Cowboys
Silverhawk or whatever.
Silverhawks.
Silverhawks.
Yeah, Silverhawks. Awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool show actually.
Well, there is a better Cowboys in Space, not on the list because it's actually fairly well known. Cowboys of Moon Mesa.
Oh man, that. I thought you were going to go with Firefly.
Oh, that's true. Space Sentinels. I'm trying to remember what this one was all about. Super Friends in Space. Starcom.
Starcom.
U.S. Space Force got its inspiration here, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're all going to be members of the U.S. Space Force soon. Starcom. I'm pretty sure I had a lot of the toys from Starcom because they were really cool spaceships that would you'd push a button and go zzz and open up and a car would come out. I'm pretty sure.
Well, there's so many that are in that sort of post Robotech,
right?
Or Robotech inspired, where it's like, oh, it's okay. Is it that they're magnetic and they fit, or is it because that you twist the thing and it rolls? They're all very similar in that way. Let's go on to Vitor, the Starfire champion.
Yeah. Oh, I'm no, never heard of that one at all.
My favorite villain name so far: King of War, Mysore Sarcophagus. That is a random name generator.
Mysore Sarcophagus is
Mysore,
a wonderful band name.
Like that would be cool. Like what's the villain's name? His name is Sarcophagus. Sarcophagus.
I guarantee you we could get a panel at any convention we wanted, or a performance, if we said, yeah, we're a band called Mysore Sarcophagus. We play nerd-based music.
Well, they go, oh, because you know Vitar, the Starfire champion. If
Sure.
I'm not mistaken, if this is the right one,
Actually, Star
Champion's it's the worst combination of this barbarian, prehistoric, I've got a ripped shirt that's like tied here, but then I'm running around on a space planet too. But he has this weird gold ring that's got like 3 blades coming off of it that's like tied into his shirt.
How does he use it?
I don't know if he ever does, if that's just his ornamentation.
It's just there.
But he does have a really cool shield that will open up so he can glide on it and things. So I like the shield concept.
I think you found a costume idea for Super.
I'm going to be Visor.
Ragnar.
That would be Vitor.
Ragnar Sarcophagus.
80s cartoons that you will not remember.
Yeah.
The picture is just one person, Vitor.
Yeah, that would be kind of a sad
Do you remember Defenders of the Earth? This was the animated series that paired up Flash Gordon, the Phantom. Remember the purple and black Phantom?
Yeah, the Billy Zane movie.
Yeah, Mandrake the Magician and
Lothar.
And then they added 4 other teenagers. Not Lothar.
Lothar Pendragon? Okay. No, I don't remember that one either, actually.
And they treated it like the A-Team, because remember the A-Team was like, oh, it's Mr. T, and then also some children. That's what they did.
That was the Mr. T show, the Mr. T cartoon.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. T.
Yeah.
So they did the same thing here. We're going to take these 4 heroes, but we're going to add 4
kids
spunky kids.
Sure.
And even in the theme song, it's like, and the 4 now becomes 8.
And the 4 spunky kids that just like you buy our toys.
I remember fondly Dino Saucers.
Yes, I remember Dino Saucers.
Great theme song because they're big anthropomorphic talking, dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
There was also Dino Riders.
Dino Riders was one of my favorite cartoons
Remember
as a
that
kid.
one?
I had, I don't know if I still have it, an extremely large Dino Riders collection of toys.
Wow.
Dino Riders was awesome because my two passions as a child
Riding
were
things?
fighter jets and dinosaurs. So that's why I know Ring Raiders and that's why I know Dino Riders. Dino Riders was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because the good guys were humans and the bad guys were like frog creatures and all kinds of like crazy monster. Phenomenal show. Disney, another idea for you. Make a Dino Riders cinematic universe.
They already are. Are they making Lost World?
God, I hope so. Oh, the new
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
If you're watching Bethany or anybody else, if you can remember a zany cartoon from your childhood that you don't think anyone else would remember,
yeah, challenge us.
Let
us know if anybody else knows any.
Actually,
other
if you're Gen X,
obscure...
if you're a millennial, you'd probably be talking about something that came on Nick Jr.
Yeah, it'd be like
2007.
Ben 10 or whatever.
Ben 10 was good.
Steven Universe.
Who's that? No, Ben 10 was good. I like Ben 10 because I was like, I shouldn't be watching this, but this Cartoon Network is doing an 8-hour marathon. I might as well. Keep it in dinosaurs for a minute. Denver, the Last Dinosaur.
No.
Imagine, you remember when they did the Flintstones kids?
Yes.
And Baby Dino.
Yeah.
Imagine a green Baby Dino hanging out with people in California that plays guitar.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, that's it. Denver, the Last Dinosaur. He's our friend and a whole lot more. The theme song is good as well.
Fair enough.
That's how people remember. Oh, that song. Yeah, when you hear it, you go, I remember this. But no, it was just he brought with him some rocks that allowed people to see back into the past or something. So I don't know if it was supposed to be educational, but it was weak sauce.
Can I throw another dinosaur one out there that I'm hoping people remember? You'll remember. Dinosaurs and Cadillacs?
I do remember that one.
Quality. If you don't know it, no joke. It's comics. There's a video game. Oozes style. Just dripping with
style. We're doing top 10 dinosaur cartoons at some
There's
point.
a lot of them. Dino Riders is number one.
Dino
Riders is great. People ride dinosaurs. And see, the good guys... So the difference in Dino Riders was the good guys would talk to the dinosaurs, and the dinosaurs would let them ride them and put laser guns on them because they liked them. The bad guys would use brain-controlled devices. And so the good guys in the cartoon, because you can't kill the bad guys, and you can't kill the dinosaurs, they'd shoot the thing off, and then the bad dinosaurs would run off. Yeah, exactly.
Well, because they had to be careful with violence.
Right.
But at the same time, why is it the good guys are riding dinosaurs and the bad guys are riding dinosaurs? Or why is it that G.I. Joe has these cool vehicles and Cobra has these cool vehicles? And they always had to explain it in certain ways.
It's the means, not the ends. It's how you accomplish it that's cool. That makes you a good guy.
It's part of good storytelling.
Yep, actually, it's true. I had a discussion about this on the Facebook the other day. Well, we can get to it.
What about Potato Head Kids?
Potato Head Kids. That's who doesn't know Potato Head Kids? It's the sequel to Potato Head Babies.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head's children.
There was a cartoon about that?
There was a cartoon about that. There's actually one about Rubik's Cube, like The Adventures of Rubik. But he had this blue face that stuck out of his body. It was like if you... it's like if you took... what do they call it? A munchie. Or... Not the ghoulies.
A Kushkin?
But critters.
Okay.
It's like if you took the face of a critter, made it blue, with no hair, just little blue arms and legs sticking out of a Rubik's Cube, and had a cartoon about it going through space.
That's a case of marketing going, what else we got?
Yeah,
Slinky. The kids that play in the Rubik's Cube. Let's do a cartoon about that.
Jerry Slinky?
I don't know.
What you got?
Slap a face on a Slinky, and then there we go.
Hey, what about a smart talking computer named Simon?
Order 80 episodes. Let's go. Blah, blah, blah.
It's gold.
That's my TV executive smoking a cigar. Blah, blah, blah. It's the sound of smoking a cigar.
Here are two of my favorite ones for the younger demographic that I remember watching and I thought were cute.
Pardon me. This is cigar smoke.
Paw Paws. They were like Native American themed little animals.
No, that
it was super cute.
sounds like it wouldn't fly today.
Or the Popples. You remember the toy, the Popple? Basically, what my hedgehog does. That they roll up into a ball and you untuck them and they're a little figurine.
Yeah, I think I remember those. Didn't have any, but I remember the name.
Had their own cartoon. 2 more before we go.
Hey, we have our own cartoons. So
yeah, we do. Galaxy High School. Galaxy High School was about
the
jock,
MTV show?
The jock who didn't care about school, and the hotter than she needed to be super nerd who wasn't cool. They get somehow invited to Galaxy High School with a bunch of aliens and things, and now the jock has somehow become the nerd. Like, people chase him and bully him and treat him like garbage.
Oh, and they respect the
intelligent girl because she's smart.
Lessons for life, kids.
The funny thing about it is the series was created by director Chris Columbus. So I almost want to go back and see if the writing the writing might be pretty good.
Yeah, you never know.
There's the one that I want to talk about. Oh goodness, where is it? Give me a tick. What's another one that you think of that people wouldn't remember?
You know, it's one that I don't remember. I'm curious to see if you do. It's not obscure, but it's old and interesting. The Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
I do remember that.
Did you ever watch it? I never saw it as a kid. I don't know if it wasn't on TV here or
it was really hard to find on TV.
I never saw it. I didn't know
it was
it
still
existed.
coming from the time where people were afraid that it was like summoning demons.
Right. D&D had a really negative connotation at that time. So, but I don't know. Interesting idea.
It's something that could have easily been rebooted.
You know what it is? For anybody who's substantially younger than us, so millennials and down, great campaign setting to put new players into.
It really, yeah. Kind of your classic tropes of a bunch of kids hanging out, get sent into the world of being wizards and warriors and stuff. I found it. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. I had it, and then I moved the phone.
Oops.
You bugger.
That's okay. That happens sometimes.
Okay.
Anybody else out there who's watching? If you have an obscure cartoon that you remember that you think we won't, let us know. We're curious to hear.
This is annoying.
How about SWAT cats? Remember SWAT cats?
Yeah, SWAT cats.
Cats that flew a fighter jet?
We're getting into the 90s there a little bit more. But yeah, SWAT cats was
90s.
really cool because they had like almost half the cast of Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the same voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
I got in trouble in 5th grade because at one point we had like free time where we could work on whatever project we wanted to. And I was sitting there drawing a picture of the plane from SWAT cats. And my teacher came up and said, I think you could be doing something more important right now. I said, okay. And I pulled out some project out of my desk and started on it.
I'll get to
I got in trouble because of SWAT cats. You guys owe me. I got failed out of the 5th grade 8 times because of you. I never graduated from the 6th grade. No, I'm just kidding. I did.
You did?
Last year.
Finally you made it.
I did.
Oh, there's one
Starting
more.
7th grade next year.
Punky Brewster. Remember she had a cartoon?
There was a Punky Brewster cartoon. I never saw it because I never really cared about Punky Brewster, but it did exist.
Brave Star. There it is.
Brave Star.
Because he was Native American influenced.
Yes.
In space.
Yes.
Shooting guns and things in a Western
Yes.
world. He had a robotic horse that would transform and become more humanoid and shooting a shotgun.
Yes.
I would love to see that remade because that looked fun. That was.
There's another great D&D setting, or a Starfinder setting, I guess.
Starfinder setting.
Forget Pathfinder. Starfinder setting
with your
old West in space.
Yeah, the last thing I would let one of my players play is a cowboy who had a companion horse that could turn into another player. Horse?
That would actually, you know what, now that I think about it, that's a great way if you have a player who comes and goes.
Yeah, you're the horse.
You're the horse. And when you're there, it transforms into a humanoid who can talk. And when you're not there, you're just an animal.
I remember when you tried to do that with an astromech droid, and she turned out to be one of the star players of our game.
Oh, dude. R2V6 was vital in so many situations. As R2 units in general. Fall into that trope. So.
They're often they're underestimated.
They are underestimated and misunderestimated. Misunderestimated is a new television show starring Sandra Bullock as this cat.
Oh, I should have read that article. It was another headline where I thought it was too clickbaity, but Sandra Bullock asked to be let out of a movie due to unwanted advances.
Ooh, okay.
So, that's true. I hate that for her.
You just made it
awesome.
Sad and grim.
I love Sandra Bullock.
I just love Sandra Bullock.
She's still in that America's Sweetheart.
Oh, she's great.
Tier for me.
She's great. She's wonderful and still has enough acting chops to where she's not a joke. She's great.
So I went through a phase of buying all these old cartoons on DVD. He will eat your face.
Sorry. Getting some cat time on camera here.
But, so like I bought like the first season of Darkwing Duck or the first season of Tailspin.
Tailspin is phenomenal.
It's so good. I used to come in the morning.
Of it though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought it was on like 2.
It wasn't enough. It may have been 2.
But like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles season 1, and so love it.
Ooh, bye, cat. There's a cat butt.
Cat butt.
Front receipt for a cat butt, y'all.
But then I thought, okay, I'll buy some other things. I regret buying certain things on DVD.
Such as?
I can't remember it now because it's so bad. Do you remember the sci-fi animated show about the green tentacled guy, and it was on the keyboard.
No, not on the keyboard.
That was like all sexual innuendo.
What? No,
Tripping the Rift.
Oh yeah, no, that was on Sci-Fi or MTV or VH1 or something.
Yeah. And I remember buying the first 3 seasons, thinking it was so good because I'd seen one episode 2 or 3 years before. And that's $40 I'll never get back again. Yeah. It's embarrassing how bad it is. It was not good.
That was like late 90s, early 2000s after South Park had come out.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And everybody wanted to be the new South Park. I'm like, we're going to be edgy.
Hey, guess what? Tripping the Rift? Not the new South Park.
You know what also tried to be the new South Park? Family Guy. And they pulled it off.
Ooh, you know what else tried to be South Park? South Park after season 4.
Oh, God. New South Park is just... Ugh, don't even get me started. Those guys.
Well, I love the classic, or like first season because it is offensive to a degree, but it's almost naive.
Though. Yeah, the kids feel like kids.
They do,
and they're not just voices for Trey Parker and Matt Stone. They're characters who are kids who are doing these weird adventures.
I feel that's true about Bart Simpson as well.
Oh, very true. Yeah, what happened to South Park also happened to The Simpsons for sure, where it just fell apart.
Just with the love of Bart when he would say the word bastard, and he would start bastard, and Homer's about to kick him out of the house. That was funny. Now it's what really deep, scathing political innuendo can we make, and that's what's humor.
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes was I can't remember the name of it, but the Lord of the Flies ripoff where they're on the island, and Bart's first reaction is, "We can live like we can say any curse word we want. We can live like kings." Damn hell ass kings, because that's what a kid would do.
That's what a kid would do.
It's funny. That's great. Yeah. No, don't get me started on a Simpsons rant because we'll be here the rest of the night and into tomorrow evening.
Yeah. Simpsons rant following by the Star Wars marathon.
We'll do another episode about the Simpsons, and we'll do a full episode about Star Wars and all the problems I have with it. No, I'm not a misogynist. I love Rey. She's one of my favorite new characters.
Love Rey.
She's phenomenal. I have no problems with diversity or women in Star Wars. It's because the new movies are badly written. Moving on
to we were
something beyond controversy.
So let's talk about the political environment.
Let's talk about the presidency.
Well, actually, let me use that for a moment. Cork.
Oh, you're right. I thought it was cat food because we had a cat all over here.
And he likes to share his food.
He does. He has food just dripping out of his pores. He's so fat.
Kind of like looking at you like, I heard that.
He is. He always here. Come here, Ham. He's busy. He's busy doing cat stuff.
Busy laying still.
Anyway.
I was thinking today about, we were kind of talking about it before, that there's never too much nerding and role-playing games to do. And I'd like to get into greater detail about this some other time, about using escapism. And we've talked before about escapism and how media reflects the political environment. If it's zombies, or that's the mindless, materialistic side of America, or vampires, is aristocracy.
Yeah, the dangerous privilege.
Privilege. So I'm just interested to see what this environment means for future fantasy, but at the same time where you invest fantasy, like, okay, the world is so tough for a lot of people, especially the privileged, but the world is so tough
for the rich.
You want to get out of it and you want to fantasize, but at what point are you not doing anything about it? So when does fantasy let you know that you should maybe become more of an advocate for something you care about? And I want to talk about it another time, but that I was actually thinking about that a lot today.
I honestly was thinking about similar topics today as well. Just in my day today, we had to run somewhere, and on the way, we were going through a neighborhood that I know very well, and there was a dog on the side of the road, unattended, just chilling out, looking really nervous, and we stopped and tried to check on it to make sure, because I knew that dog was probably run away or missing, or whatever the case may be. Later in the day today, I went past, we were headed somewhere and we had to be there, so I couldn't stop, but we went past some folks that had a flat tire, and they were their truck was up on jacks, and they were just kind of sitting on the flat tire just waiting. And it was like, I wish I could stop. And it made me realize that, when you're in a situation where you are at your lowest, where you're struggling the most, it makes you more willing and more interested in reaching out and helping others, I think. So I think what's happening now, if we're talking about current political climates, and, I don't want to get too political, but I think what's happening is that a lot of us of our generation are struggling with job markets, with, our wages are depressed, our jobs are hard to come by, or good jobs are hard to come by, rewarding jobs are hard to come by. I'm interested to see how gaming goes. I think it's going to, it inspires more goodness in people. When you have to fight for everything that you have, and you want to play a character, you want to fight for every, fight for goodness in your games.
I would like to think that's the case. However,
it isn't necessarily the case.
When I was assaulted at a former job, I repressed what I was feeling because I didn't know what I was feeling. And when I came home, I played Grand Theft Auto Vice City for 3 hours and killed as many people as I could to relieve stress.
That's an aspect of escapism too.
But that's not what I normally do that game. I'm trying to hide from the cops. I'm trying to do the least amount of crime possible and not just shoot random bystanders or run them over. But it made me feel better to blow up the cop cars and see if I could get a 5-star wanted rating and how long I could make it. And then just running over people. And afterwards I was like, was that the healthiest thing I could have done? And I didn't think it wasn't, but I don't know. I think some people may go the other way with it. Like, I'm mad at you, so I'm going to take it out on you, or
and that can definitely happen for sure. Excuse me.
I'm powerless, so here I get to have power. I'm not used to regulating power, so I may mistreat it here.
That's
in
true.
The game.
I guess I think that has to do with age. When you're younger and you have
maturity,
no power, you want to exercise it. When you're older and you realize that you're struggling, it makes you feel, it depends on the source of the struggle, I would say. When you have if someone assaults you, you have someone directly antagonizing you, that creates anger and resentment. But when it is, I'm having trouble paying bills, I can't blame anybody for that. It's just money. It creates I feel my heart opens for other people in that same situation more.
I would hope that's the case. But I've seen people who live somewhat of an impotent life.
Yeah.
When they finally get the ability to be stronger,
they
take advantage of it.
I think that is a danger. I agree. I think,
But maybe that tougher times would allow for evolution. That communities that grow from the real world and the role played world might institute more of, like, I'm hoping that there are more lawful good campaigns out there. That there are more saving the universe campaigns as opposed to let's go into the crypt and just fight abominable horrors and have our go crazy.
You know, that's something interesting. It's an interesting topic, and it's the one that the poli-sci and sociologists in me would love to discuss more, but we won't go too far down the rabbit hole. But
we already have started digging this hole.
The generational, you know, I don't necessarily always agree with the you're a millennial, so you are blah.
Yeah,
you can't categorize people that way. But from what I've seen, you can see if your experience is similar. You and I are kind of the old end of millennial. I think we're technically millennials, but we sure as heck don't feel like it.
I'm technically Gen X.
Gen X? We're both on the border. I don't feel like I'm either of those generations, but whatever. The point is, we're our older generation, 80s kids born in the 80s or late 70s. I think we are, even the very early 90s, we kind of are in a certain situation. We all were adults when the economic crash happened. We're all kind of desensitized, and we're trying our best, but, you know, it's hard. What I've seen and what I've felt is, for the most part, and obviously there's always exceptions, is the younger generation below us seems like they're really positive and accepting and open to new positive ways of thinking. Not necessarily open to negative ways of thinking, but open to a lot of more.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that impacts our hobbies in a really positive way, bringing in, you know, more inclusivity and more openness, more voices that are, again, positivity. Actually, that's something we were going to get to.
Yes, let's dive and twist on in,
talking about
from what could be a very long.
We've got a whole there. Overlight, which we can talk to a little bit later. But the idea that if you play a character in this, by definition, your character seeks to do good in the world. Subconsciously, you may not necessarily, you may be stealing, but you're stealing from the rich to give to the poor. Anything that you do has a positive overall impact on the world because you have that encoded within you genetically. So settings like that, I think, are becoming more common and more, more, like you said, you're not going to be a lawful evil campaign. You're going to be a lawful good campaign.
When it comes to new scenarios and new game mechanics, it is smarter to build it so that automatically there is a fellowship in the game when you begin.
Yeah. A
lot of these bigger open-ended, make any character you want, they can be at odds. They could be I think of World of Warcraft. We're going to play. Well, are you on my side or not my side, just to begin with?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be on the same side. Are you going to be on the side that starts over there with completely different things you want to deal with and I deal with, and maybe eventually we come together? Or do we all start out on the same island with the same problems, different ways of going about it, and we want to work on it together? I like when the mechanics are built in such a way that fosters that immediate fellowship and forces your... even if your ultimate goal is slightly different, you have to go through some similar means.
To that end, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and talk about this. So I've got a set of modules here. And we'll kind of, the general topic, I guess we'll move on to, is Free RPG Day. Free RPG Day was last Saturday, so less than a week ago. We both had the chance to visit Wyvern's Tale, who we talked about earlier in this episode. You got to play a game, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But one of the cool things about Free RPG Day is they give you free modules, yay, and all kinds of systems. And it gives you a chance to introduce yourself to systems you're not necessarily familiar with. Speaking of Overlight, which I mentioned, this, Kids on Bikes. It's kind of rough. I'm not sure I like all of their mechanics in it. But speaking of exactly what you're talking about, there is a really great mechanic of building the party. And that is, before you start your first game, every person chooses positive or negative, and then you roll on a random table, a d20. And what it does is, say you want to say positive, the player to your left, you have to you have to answer this positive question about them. So, for example, what is the kindest thing this character has ever done for you? You have to say that about another player character.
Even if you haven't played with them before,
Exactly.
you just make it up.
You're making it up.
One time...
He gave me an ice cream when I dropped my ice cream.
Yeah. It was a hot summer day. He gave me ice cream.
Exactly. So what you're doing immediately before you start playing is you are establishing that these players all know each other, and they all have a reason to know each other and a reason to work with each other instantly. And it's I saw that, and I'm like, that's brilliant. It takes a few minutes, and it's great. It helps you build your backstory and helps them build their backstory.
Here's my point on that, going back before we continue to go forward.
Yeah.
When you play Warcraft and you run through an area and that guy is fighting that thing, you have no reason to help them.
I usually do. When I'm playing
You usually do.
I'll throw a dot on
95% of anyone else
you ignore them.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
There was a time when you would play EverQuest where someone would just run by and buff you.
Yeah.
You just ask, like, hey, can anyone buff me? And like, hey, I'm a wizard, sorcerer, whatever. Yeah, let me throw a thing on you that'll last an hour, which will
that was the case
boost
in
your
WoW.
stats.
Back in the day, 10 years ago. God
Right.
Lord, makes me feel old. You know, back in the early days of WoW, you'd go to Ironforge specifically because if you stood outside the auction house on Ironforge for 5 minutes, you would be fully buffed out, and then you could go level.
I
again.
remember that.
Yeah.
But they don't
do it anymore. Yeah, everybody ignores each other for sure. Yeah.
But that is part of the communal thing that hopefully a good tabletop role-playing setting that you're in, you find ways to have characters go, hey, thank you. I appreciate you saving me just now. You didn't have to. I recognize that we want to be together and we want to take care of each other, and we have interactions, albeit very small, that build the relationships that we have, so that when we go into the bigger moments and your life is in peril, I don't think, well, that's just the guy who's fought beside me. Instead, this is the person who shared with me a meal and did me a favor and helped me when I was feeling sad. Yeah. That is an amazing part of role-playing tabletop games that brings you back for more. Yeah. And especially other players, like, I like playing with him because he's fun. He does good things.
Part of the challenge as GM is putting your party in situations where they can build those, you know, and we've talked about before, like first game setups of you all meet in a tavern. Well, that's...
You don't know each other.
It's classic, but it's kind of hard to get people to work together, you know.
I like having two characters who know each other.
Yeah.
So these two were brothers. These two served in the academy. Yeah. They were rivals, but eventually they struck up a friendship. And then we know each other. And so that buddy, that camaraderie that you may have, that's artificial at the beginning, becomes very natural later on down the road. Right. And I think the mechanics for Kids on Bikes
awesome.
allows
really
for that.
Like I said, some of the other mechanics in there are a little weird, and it's not fully explained in that. But for the most part, I think it's really interesting.
Mr. Winkles!
Excuse me.
Well, I went down and was the first person in the door.
Oh.
I wasn't supposed to be.
You weren't last year. You were like 12th in line.
Yeah. Well, I should have been third in line, but the interesting thing about Wyvern's Tale is it's an old house.
Yeah, it's got two entrances.
So the front entrance is where people normally come in who are visiting. Yeah. The back entrance is for the people who play all the time because they're going upstairs.
I always go in the back, yeah.
Right. There's a little more parking back there. The front has 3 very narrow spots. The back has maybe 6 spots.
But enough.
Just enough for one night of gaming. Otherwise, you park across the street at the most. I got there at 10 a.m. They open at 11 a.m. No one else seemed to be there, so I sat in my car and ate a breakfast biscuit until 10:30, 10:35, and then I walked over to the door, made sure that it was locked, and then walked around to the back because last year that is where they brought everyone in. There's a guy I've seen who's there before. He either runs games or he's just there all the time, and he has a dog, and it's not a service animal, but that's okay. It's a very sweet dog. It's a big old flabby-faced dog of some mutt breed. And he said hello, and another guy showed up that they knew, and they started talking about 18 different game systems I've never heard of. Like, what are you playing today? Are you getting this thing? I'm like, it sounds cool. I don't know. So I should have been second in line, and then we all kind of moved around, and the guy who was behind me kind of got in front of me, and the guy who was in front of me kind of went off his way. And he's like, oh, well, you're in front of me. You can go ahead when we open. It's like, we're all friends here.
Yeah.
We're all going to get the same swag.
Yeah.
If I got here an hour late, I probably wouldn't get the same things. But first in the door,
I got there an hour late and everything was still there.
You got most everything. There was a couple small things that were gone. You didn't get the Eldritch thing.
No, I didn't see that.
We'll do our own adult after hours version for that, because it is an adult book. It is the second adult book. The first one. Yeah, I'll talk about it another time. So, yeah, actually, when the doors open, basically the guy's like, hey, go on ahead of me. I'm like, okay, fine. Zip, 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 zip.
Yep.
And I normally wouldn't grab one of just about everything, but because of the FoundryCast, because of what I've been doing with tabletop games and wanting to learn more, and I love the art, especially in this book.
Dungeon Crawl Classics
gosh.
is so good.
But,
I'll put it
like, the cover itself is...
Just classic D&D art.
Let me see. Tilt it.
I don't know if anybody can even see that. It's the light's messed up, but black and white, just all hand drawn with pencil and pen. I just had the chance. I showed you the monster manual that I got from first edition, right? Yeah, it's very similar artwork. The maps and stuff. It's too bright. Sorry, but yeah, Dungeon Crawl Classics is very much a throwback, sort of art wise and.
So Free RPG Day every year, they produce for Free RPG Day. It's not they just give things away. They have garbage. You can even see.
Yeah, most
they
of them
all or almost all of them have this little Free RPG Day stamp on it. So Dungeon Crawl Classics purposely put this together.
There's now, the overlight one. Oh, if you can see it right there, the Free RPG Day token.
It almost looks like the exact same booklet, but if you look at last year's, it has a different module inside. So, they didn't give out extra art. Like, even that.
It's so good. It's
you
so
could
good.
use this. Like, oh.
So, actually, yeah, this one's cool because if you flip it and read it from the other direction, it's upside down. It's the new module. But the rest of the book is the one from last year with all the rules. Not all the rules, but the basic rules that you need to get started.
It's a level 2 adventure called Man Bait for the Soul Stealer.
There's actually two adventures. There are two modules in there.
Here's was really fun. The modules that they had were the modules at Wyvern's Tale that you could play. Right. So while you got it, you wouldn't want to read ahead, but then you could go upstairs.
That's what you played that day.
And play a game.
Yeah.
So they were running Dungeon Crawl Classics. They were running
Weeby Super Goblins.
Weeby Goblins game.
And the one you played,
Starfinder's Skittershot. Where you play a Starfinder race. They're called Skittermanders. They're essentially furry gnomes with 6 arms.
Right.
At later levels, you can multi-wield. But what's neat about them is you have 6 arms. You can hold 6 things at a time.
That's cool.
You can't use them all at once, but you're not having to draw a sword, draw a gun. I always have my sword and my gun and my fire extinguisher and whatever it is I want to have.
Great
and
for
2 free arms. Skittermanders are great.
Yeah.
Because they are gnomes. We're going to work together. We're going to do it. We're all tinkerers. We're all a little naive and a little gung-ho. Yeah. We don't think anything will harm us. Let's go, yeah! But that's a perfect thing to play as a group. I think they're technically level 2 in this game. And a couple other games are being played as well. Yeah. Sometimes they'll have additional swag if certain manufacturers donate it, like
I got a little
bookmarks.
I got a little Munchkin card.
Munchkin cards.
We keep going out of focus. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's a little weird. Sometimes Dice Masters will have extra dice. They did for International Tabletop Day.
Yeah, which was
a few months ago.
Spring into winter.
And I got a Squirrel Girl dice for Dice Masters.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? It's cool. It's cute. And some like Diablo, some like dice red kind of cool thing. I like to collect dice. It's my thing. But overall, for my experience, it was very rewarding. This is my 3rd event in a row at Wyvern's Tale. Yeah. Last year's Free RPG Day, International Tabletop Day, and then this year. And it is a mixed bag depending on what you guys want to go for. Yeah. About half of our viewing audience probably wouldn't enjoy it or get a lot out of it. But for some of you, if you've never played a game before, it's really, really good except for it's a first come first serve to sign up to get in the game. But beyond that, they're almost all level 1, level 2. Mm-hmm. The GMs, the game masters are all really happy to introduce to you the mechanics and explain it in very simple ways.
They expect that all the players are new to that system.
Mm-hmm. Or that have played games like it but want to try this one out. Right. And so they have to know the mechanics very well. For example, the guy playing Starfinder, the guy running our Starfinder game, he runs Pathfinder Society games on the regular. Yeah. Pathfinder, Starfinder, they're
very similar,
almost identical. He also runs some Starfinder games, so he understands the mechanics of the game. And I guess maybe he got it the day before, maybe a week before to prepare. So he knew this scenario in and out and was prepared to go, okay, you don't have to know what you're doing. Tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you exactly what it might take to get there.
That's the GM's job. One of the GM's jobs.
My guy did an amazing job. I was really pleased. Cool. I kind of wish I had a different couple of people that I was playing with.
Yeah, we discussed that off camera a while back about, once again, because that's something we talked about last time you did this, Pathfinder Society of some of the issues that exist within our community, of especially hygiene, but also social mores and interactions and things like that.
And sadly, I was affected in the exact same way by the exact same person at the exact same table. It was ironic, but
in general, this is advice for anybody playing tabletop, and it's very common advice at conventions, which we'll talk about in a bit. Soap is your friend. Deodorant is your friend. Take care of yourself because it makes you feel better, but it also makes everyone around you feel better.
I try to think of the reciprocity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a word.
Of life in general. Uh-huh. If I'm playing a game where I'm the fighter and you're the cleric and you're the rogue and oh no, I'm hurt. Oh no. Hey, cleric, you gonna help me? Rogue's gonna stab me more. Cleric, would you help me out? Okay, I kind of expect you to fill your role. Yeah. We've got a door that needs some lockpicking. I'm assuming the rogue's probably going to try to take point on that. It's just the way these kind of games go. Yeah. But at the same time, I also expect everyone at the table who wants to be there and play in a group to be aware that they're in public. And with other people.
Right.
And probably have been told at some point in their life that they need to take care of hygiene. Because it's worrisome. And that's what always scares me. Sometimes someone's going to let a fart out. It happens. You may offend for a few moments, but it's not meant to be anything more than that. And
also, to that extent, sometimes you come straight from the gym.
True.
Whatever. You had to ride your bike to the game. Whatever.
Sometimes you just have a strong odor about you.
Sometimes you're just a smelly person in general, and that happens. But
when you know you're going to an event with other people, taking care of yourself, it's more than simple courtesy. And as we said before, I think when you are in a field like we are, and you know that it comes sometimes with unfair social stigma,
right?
You have to do your best to battle against it.
Yeah, you don't want to reinforce, all nerds are smelly losers. Well, you might be a loser, but at least show up and not be smelly.
I think of, okay, so
I'm just kidding. If
I'm trying to get a friend of mine into, like, hey, dude, let's play Pathfinder. Right. Let's play Dungeons & Dragons.
Come with me and let's go play a Pathfinder.
I don't know if I want to do that. Okay, here, watch this. Here's an episode of Critical Role. Here are 6 or 7 good-looking people who are talented and trained and paid voice actors. Yeah. One of whom is a published author for in the world that he created and archetypes that he's created for the game, character archetypes. That's what I want to show you. So you go, okay, this is what it could be. I don't take you necessarily to Pathfinder Society for the first time and then introduce you to what you don't know what's going to happen, because it was a motley group of people, some of whom were awesome. Yeah, there's one. Her character's name was Wally Wiggins, and she played a gnome in Dungeon Crawl Classics who survived almost up until the end.
That's
and
impressive.
I was very sad to see Wally Wiggins go.
Aw.
But Wally Wiggins had to go. And when I saw her again, I didn't remember her name, but I went, Wally Wiggins!
Wally Wiggins.
And she's like, oh yeah, like she just made that name up, but it stuck with me. And you get to see people that you've seen before, and see different player types than maybe you're used to at your table, which is interesting.
Going back to our conversation early in the episode, something like Pathfinder Society or Free RPG Day feels like it's something for locals to mingle and to cross into new systems. It's not something where, oh, you're just in town for this weekend, let's go play Pathfinder Society. No.
These are the locals. These are the people that you go, oh, what game do you run on the weekends? Maybe I'll check that out.
Exactly.
Oh, you guys are playing Pathfinder Society every other week, and I'm not in it? Why not? Which I ask myself a lot.
That was the really cool experience that I had, and we talked about this off camera, how it ended up for you. But when I was there, I didn't get a chance to play in the game. I didn't get a spot in the Starfinder game anyway. But even if I had other engagements, I couldn't stay. But I was there for an hour or so, hanging out in the shop, bought a few things, got a T-shirt. Yay! Go Wyvern Sail.
That's a cool shirt. It's comfy too.
It is.
After you wash it a couple times,
it's a Hanes, but it's actually cotton. It's soft.
Yeah.
But I was there for a while. Got to kind of feel a crowd out, and what surprised me, because I didn't really know what to expect. There were a ton of kids there, and all of the kids, because I was listening on their conversations, were excited about playing RPGs. It wasn't they didn't get so cool. Dragged there. They wanted to be there, and they were like, oh, "We got to go upstairs and find out what we can play, Dad." And Dad's like, oh, "Okay, whatever." But they were excited to be there. And then after the game started, I was kind of by myself in the shop, and family came in. They said, "We just moved to town. We came here because our son wants to play D&D. Do you run D&D?" Oh, well, yeah, actually today we're doing this,
Yeah, randomly happened on Free RPG Day.
It felt great because, as I told you before, when I was a kid, when we were kids, we were nerds, nascent nerds. We didn't have that. There was no place to go. It was all stigma. It was all ostracization. It was all being an other. Nowadays, you have local places like this, even in a small town like ours, where you can go and play a game and feel welcome and feel like, even if you didn't maybe necessarily bathe well that day, or maybe you don't relate well with others, you can still go and be welcome,
right?
And play that game, and people are going to try and help you play a little better, or whatever the case may be. I'm not judging, but trying to help you, but they're not going to say nerd and pull your underwear and kick you down into the toilet or something. They're welcome.
Well, that's part of the game.
That's another setting. That's the toilet finder,
right?
Which we're not going to go into. But
there's an app for that.
There's always an app for that. It made me feel better. It made me feel really good to see younger generations have. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, that inclusivity of younger kids, where they're willing to, let's play some Pathfinder. There's nothing wrong with that. When I was a kid, there was a stigma with Dungeons & Dragons, and there isn't anymore, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and before I get back to a point, if you're watching, guys, thank you for joining us. I'm curious, have you got a chance to play in any sort of public setting that you haven't before? If you haven't, what interests you about it? What would it take?
Yeah, what would it take?
What would it take to get you there?
Yeah.
Or what is it that's keeping you from going? Because for me, there is a social dynamic that strangely enough I did not know was something that I had in me that I had to face in a negative way until I got older. That just jumping into a group of people, I'm actually better talking to 100 people than I am talking to 5 that I don't know.
I am too.
It's the strangest thing.
Yeah, I could give a speech all day, but
exactly. So talking to people I've never met before, and am I being funny? Am I being too serious? Am I being too silly? That goes through my brain. So if you're watching, I'd love to hear what it is that would it take to get you there, what it would excite you about it, or maybe what's holding you back. Maybe we can discuss. Children at the environment. That was a very interesting situation that started well, ended well, but I was a little frustrated because some of the ways that fell out. But, and as I told you, I had an opportunity that in my mind I just saw it as being nice to somebody. And there was a girl with her dad and 2 or 3 younger siblings, and they were planning on playing a game at some point. I didn't know which one, but she didn't bring any dice with her. And she was very sad, and the dad was a little kind of down on her, like, what, you didn't bring your dice? Well, maybe someone will let you borrow some at a place that sells dice, and for fairly cheap.
They are.
Like
the random dice?
The random dice, you
just
can
get
pick
a full
out a
set
couple
for
colors
a
that
couple
you like.
dollars.
They're 50 cents a die, and you pick whatever color. And I'll sit there for 15 minutes.
And finding
because that's what I was doing when I overheard this. I was picking out my Starfinder set that were all bluish, purplish, greenish, speckledy.
Need a new set for a new character
for my Skittermander. So I found a set and I liked it, but I overheard this conversation, and they had these prepackaged $4. You don't know what's in it, but it's a full set of dice, matching set of dice. So there were 2 of them left in there, and I grabbed one of each and paid for it, and then walked by her and said, hey, did you say you need some dice? And she's like, yeah. And I didn't realize, like, hey, I was eavesdropping earlier, and I was like, here you go. It was a $4 investment, but maybe that kindness rubbed off on her in some way, and she realized this is a really accepting group of people. This guy, just for no reason, was nice to me. I didn't know her.
Yeah. That's something, like I said earlier, we want to introduce folks to our hobbies, bring especially younger generations, and it's something I've had the opportunity to do before, is run games for younger kids who've never played before, and it's very rewarding, and I think it teaches them a really important lesson, because when I was a kid and you said, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, it was, why would you want to do that, you stupid nerd? Now it's, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Here's some dice. Let's help you make this happen. And that's inclusive, and that makes, it creates it prevents the creation of a stigma, and which we grew up with.
Our friend John, and you and I both do it often as well, but our friend John, for the first time someone plays a game with him, if it's their first time for sure, he always buys them a set of dice. Yep. Maybe based on what it sounds like the character.
It's a good welcoming gift.
How amazing!
When I ran a newbie campaign a couple months ago, and I bought dice based on the personalities of the people because I didn't know what they were playing. But here's a set of dice for each of you. This is welcome to the hobby. I hope you enjoyed. If you don't, well, at least you have these pretty dice you can display or play with, or whatever the case may be.
I mean, you never know when you could use some dice in your life. Yeah. Let's take another 5-minute break.
Yeah, we'll take a short break.
Back around.
And we will wrap up our episode. We're going to talk about Raleigh SuperCon coming up next. Some conventions. It's convention season. We're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff that's happening, and also some other fun projects that we both got coming down the pipe. So stay tuned. We're going to be back in just a second.
This is your last chance for any questions, comments, anything you want us to cover before we go. Bethany, Melanie, Gilly,
anybody who's joining us tonight,
Jeremy,
send them away. Send us some questions. This is the time of the night for us to answer those. We'd appreciate them, and we will be back in just a couple minutes.
See you in a minute.
My head gets.
The audio is half cut off there. Yeah. Tell the audience again.
I just said I think it's funny how big my head gets.
Okay. Anyway, we're back. Welcome back, everybody.
I derive so much pleasure from Road Boners, the series.
If you haven't seen it, check it out on our YouTube. There's the single episode. It is something that needs to happen.
My niece and nephew, I have shown them an episode, and I made sure that it was appropriate. And it was.
Yeah.
It was.
It really is.
And they thought it was. They didn't know why it was funny, but they recognized that it was funny.
It's intangibly funny.
It's intangibly funny because you're funny, and I'm trying to be funny, and it just works on this level of fluctuating intelligence of two Southern boys.
We're not trying to be funny. We're trying to be silly, and it works somehow.
It does, yeah.
It shouldn't, and it's dumb. But check it out on our YouTube if you haven't already. But yeah, we're going to wrap up this episode of the FoundryCast live cast, kind of our normal State of the Union sort of thing. We're going to talk about what's going on with us, projects we're working on, and especially, as I mentioned, Rally Supercount.
I was hoping, Sorry, please continue.
A month from today, right? July 22nd?
So soon?
Maybe it's 21st.
It actually scares me.
1 month from today. If you haven't gotten your tickets now, do so this weekend. It's 10% off.
10% off.
Once Sunday comes, I think, or Monday, it's no longer going to be discounted. So get your tickets now. A slew of stars. Well, okay. Stars loosely. A slew of nerd celebrities. There's a bunch of voice actors. There's a handful of like sci-fi TV show, fantasy TV show people. A ton of wrestlers, which we're excited about.
Of course,
Kane. They just announced the Big Red Machine is going to be there. Glenn Jacobs, I guess we should call him, but
almost governor, mayor.
He is. No, he got elected.
He didn't get elected.
I thought he did.
No,
I thought he won his election.
I wish he did.
Well, he's a Republican, so I don't wish he did.
No, but it's Knox County.
Whoa, sorry.
Knox County is where my sister lives.
That's true. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be political here. But yeah, a ton of awesome celebs that are going to be there. A bunch of great content. It's the second year they've done this. We went last year to the first annual. There's a great wrap-up video on our YouTube. If you haven't seen it yet, it's phenomenal. I think.
It was a good video.
But yeah, check that out. And you should go this year if you haven't already. We're going to be there. And do you want to tell them about what we're hoping to do?
Exactly. Well, of course, with it being our first year, and that was my first ever convention.
That was your first ever convention you've ever been to?
I had an absolute blast, and we learned a lot, and then going to Dragon Con afterwards. Learned even more.
Very different, but very fun in a different way.
So we're looking forward to taking complete advantage of that weekend. So there'll be a lot of stuff that we're going to do live and pre-record and do some light editing and get out as quickly as possible because it's just such a fun little fan fest that's really accessible.
It's good size for how new it is.
But I mean, as far as it's almost all enclosed within this one singular building, so you never feel like you have to go and fight traffic to get downtown
to get to another spot,
to 8 hotels down the way. Instead, you might have to wait on the escalator that's broken again. It broke every single day that
happens
there.
At cons. That just does.
You gotta take the stairs. Like, yeah, come on, everybody in your Naruto costumes, let's get upstairs.
Dragon Con escalators are done by Thursday night, and then from there on,
just turn them off.
Yeah, they just turn them off.
But it was such a blast that we have been working behind the scenes to try to host a panel.
We're hoping to. They do fan panels.
They do fan panels. We're fans.
For panel. We're fans. We're obviously not being invited, unfortunately. We gave our spot to Disney.
Again. We were
going to be generous to that company.
We were going to be the Disney panel, and then turns out Jonathan Disney was going to make it.
Johnny Disney. But, we were hoping to submit a fan panel. We did so. We're hoping to get chosen. We have not heard yet.
That doesn't mean anything negative. I always think no news is good news.
They haven't put their schedule together yet, basically.
And we're going on the tabletop role-playing game environment, which didn't have a very heavy showing last year.
Basically zero. There's almost nothing there on which I think is a huge hole in what they're doing.
Well, then that makes me think the odds are fairly good that we would have an opportunity.
We're hoping so.
And what I was looking on my phone was trying to find, because once we did the submission, I believe I got an email back that had it written at the bottom of like, thank you, and then it showed me the whole submission, but I'm not able to find it. Essentially, we were going to bring our vision of ways to enhance the tabletop gaming experience on 3 different levels. Essentially, how to be a better game master, ways to bring people in, so some of the internal processes, ways to bring your table experience, so terrain and environments, and then other technology in particular, ways to make the whole environment a little more inclusive to the game.
Yeah, ways to go to beyond just let's all sit around a table and roll up characters on a piece of paper. Something that draws people in. It's a topic we've talked about a ton on our podcast. Ways to draw your players in, to get them invested in the setting, to make them feel like they're there, to get them invested in their characters. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's tons of ways to do that, but we chose a couple of avenues that we're both familiar with. We both used, I think, very effectively in our games that we've run.
And again, it's also about fan experience. So the idea would be we build up in such a way that we've got time to fill. We've got things to fill the time, and then if we just have time, we can also workshop ideas with other people, share with them our insights. I tend to take a logical approach to a lot of things, so even if in the moment it may not be logical, I'll think about it afterwards, and how do I make this work? Yeah. How do I make this idea work? This person was running with something crazy. All right, maybe that's going to be the new normal, and I'm fine with that, but that's what it takes for me. And so talking someone through a process has always helped me. If I don't know what I'm doing, let me tell you about my plot. Actually, I do need to talk to you after we're off the air about a plot
the game you're running.
But sharing that with somebody else and talking it through oftentimes will lead you to an answer or the answer you weren't able to find. So we're hoping we've got our bases covered with it being a true fan panel.
I think it'll be great. If we get a chance to run it, we're going to be super excited, and I think we'll put together a great panel. Mm-hmm. If we don't, no harm, no foul. We're still going to go. We're going to have a blast at the convention. I'm really looking forward to it. It's not too late, even though there's a month left. I'm still playing with the idea of maybe a costume.
You've got some amazing costumes.
I've already got a couple I could put together, but we'll see. Anyway,
that is the biggest thing on the horizon, and it is in Raleigh, so it is going to take some time and preparation. As soon as we get the go, or even the thank you, no thank you, we've got a lot of preparation that we still need to do. So you guys will be getting a lot of behind the scenes on that on the website in particular, and our YouTube channel.
And then not but a month after Raleigh SuperCon is wrapped up, a month and a week, I think actually. DragonCon will be coming up. I'm going to go to DragonCon. I'm not sure that you're going to make it this year.
At the moment, I'm probably not, but I'll be supporting you from the
DragonCon. Those of you who go know what I'm talking about.
But we have a plan.
Yeah,
it's a year and a month out.
Yeah,
but we're looking at
our own
DragonCon going big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
We've got some fun ideas for the future. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do those. But we'll have coverage of DragonCon as well, just like we will SuperCon, some videos, some live updates, that kind of thing that we're going to put together.
And if you're interested in enlisting, come talk to me.
We do need...
Tell you more.
Can I say it's a group costume?
Group costume.
We'll need members to join us. Not necessarily a ton, but a few. We have a couple that I think we can recruit that are going to be some cool costumes. I already know what I want to put together. I'm sure you already do too. So we'll get there. It's a year away.
Hammy's definitely going to be involved.
I would love it if Hammy could be involved.
Big ham sandwich over there.
But yeah, SuperCon, DragonCon, excuse me, the cons of the con season for us, I don't think either of us is going to get a chance to go to any others. I really wanted to go to Asheville Comic-Con about a month and a half ago. I was working that day. I just didn't have the opportunity to go, and I'm sad about that. Maybe next year, I don't know. But yeah, join us at SuperCon if you have the opportunity. If you're in the Southeast, North South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia,
and I will have a cooler full of beverages in my hotel room across the street.
Yeah,
so I will make it worth your while.
We'll be happy to put you on our video as well. But yeah, what else do we have going on?
Sort of an announcement. It's not a big deal, but it's going to be fun for me. Oddities Observed, which is a Facebook page that I've been running. Zach has been helping with some contributions. Has been a lot of fun, and it's sort of a side project that lets me stretch one of my other creative needs.
Yeah.
We've battled back and forth. He said yes, I said I don't know about adding that under the umbrella of the FoundryCast, and I finally relented and said, you know what,
I think we should.
let's add it to the FoundryCast. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's a creative outlet for me, and that fits the brand of what we do.
And it's something that we are both passionately interested in. So, yeah.
So all things strange and unusual that bump in the night, or just questions, or even just stuff about magic and little known natural phenomenon.
Here's my favorite word. One of my favorite words. Yeah. Maybe my favorite overall word.
Overall.
Preternatural.
Preternatural. Yeah.
Love it.
Preternatural.
Love it.
So anything pre, post, sub, or supernatural is kind of covered in Oddities Observed. So here's what I'm going to do. It is going to join, and there will be a back catalog of some Oddities articles, is what the weekly series is called. And they will debut on the website, www.thefoundrycast.com.
Check us out.
It will debut the day before. It appears on the Facebook page. So the people who just want to get it on their normal stream, you can follow us on Facebook. A link to that will be in the FoundryCast page here soon. And then if you go to the FoundryCast website, the day before. So normally they debut on Mondays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. Every Monday, every Friday. That way, when you do your casual office job, you've got something fun to read. But if you want to get on it beforehand, Sundays and Thursdays, they'll be on the FoundryCast. So you can check it out there too.
And video content that is Oddities Observed oriented is also going to be on our YouTube channel, which is YouTube/The FoundryCast. There'll be links for that on our website as well. So, and through our Facebook. So check those out. If you're a fan of all things unusual and creepy and weird.
And I think it's fair to say that over the next month, between now and Raleigh SuperCon, you're going to see a lot more from CVG and 9 to 5 Gamer. We're going to be pushing those, not individual brands, but at least our namesakes a little bit harder.
Yep.
And that will also be to support when we go to the convention. We'll have polished up our skills a little bit. And that's part of why recently we were playing a game with a good friend of ours, John, as the game master. I'm like, I need to get back into the director's seat. Let's do it. And so a couple weeks in a row now, I've had a chance to GM my game.
By the way, there's a very real possibility in the next week you're going to get an invite to a one-shot. So just FYI.
Am I going to need a bowler hat?
Perhaps. It depends on the character you create.
And a tie?
You're going to do some homework. We'll get to that, but yeah, we both have some individual projects that will be popping up really soon. We'll have some collaborative stuff too. We've got another episode of the GM's Chair coming up soon, or GM's Roundtable, coming up soon with our good friends Jeff and John. But we've got some other FoundryCast Plays episodes that are going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks also. So tons of content for you guys to check out. You can always find that on our Facebook, where you might be watching this live. You can also find it on our website, www.thefoundrycast.com, where all that stuff is collated and collected. That's the best place to check us out.
We need a theme song.
We do.
Because it's like Safe Auto or Safe Light Repair, Light Replay. Just those things that you've heard on the radio as a kid and you never really realized that it was an advertising jingle. It's just a song.
Carowinds, nothing but fun.
Nothing's more fun. Yeah. There were like 8 versions of that. That was before the old guy did the dancing in front of the bus.
Wait, I got one. Hot Pockets.
I do that at work at least once a week. I will say
I do it randomly. I'll roll down my window at somebody in traffic and go, hey, Hot Pocket.
And then they ask you if you have any Grey Poupon. And it's a very strange moment.
But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to touch on project-wise, FoundryCast-wise before we
No, just it's going to be a gluttony, just this bursting purge of so much content soon.
I can say I personally have a lot of changes going on in my life, but weirdly enough, it's going to allow a lot of time for some of these things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, hopefully we're going to see a lot of stuff going on. The FoundryCast studios will be here as always, being delicious and palatial and comfy. But yeah. Oh no! Nobody saw that. No, there's nothing.
There's not two ladies in the box that are separated.
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
That's another thing I told you about, what we got to do.
But for real, guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening for our live cast. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, thank you as well. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook. Check out our website, www.foundrycast.com. I haven't said that enough yet. So
no,
this video.
We got our own website, guys. It's a big deal.
But we have plenty of interesting stuff coming up. And yeah, if you have any feedback for us, leave it as a comment on this video. We'd be happy to hear that from you as well. But for now, I guess we will wrap it up. For the FoundryCast, I am Zach.
I'm Cyrus.
And we will see you guys next time. Live long and
may the prosper be with you.
May the whatchamacallits be do the thing. May the Schwartz be with you.
Adorable.
Good night, everybody.